that'll be fun. I think I'm pretty confident I can win that. I mean, I'm like correct. There has been a fella who's been very angry at me on the internet lately. Pretty sure you're projecting this anger, bud. No, really. Have you seen his tweets? Base dev. Okay, look, I don't overdo it. I mean, talking about this from like a clout perspective, dude, the fact that there's some fucking YouTuber who got angry at me who's like literally several hundred times my size. He's terrible with optics because he doesn't care much about them. Yeah, that's what I'm banking on. That's pretty much like my prediction for how he's gonna be, is that he's gonna be very straightforward, he's gonna be very proudly reactionary, and therefore I can basically just like make him say a bunch of really stupid shit and then be like, oh, okay. So far all you're saying is wrong think and optics means I win. Yes, if you think wrong and you have shitty optics, I will win. Yes, I'm feeling pretty comfortable, pretty confident, especially after all the shit he said. I don't really see a way that I could particularly lose this.
Gang, welcome one and all to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious, and today we have a show for you. Dev is going to be debating Karl Marx on free speech, primarily. There will be other topics that might get snuck in there, here and there, but the primary topic will be free speech. What should be the limits of free speech? Under what circumstances, if any, should we take away someone's right to speak? These questions and more, and we'll get into it as we go. But first, I want to give a chance for my guests to introduce themselves. Tell me who you are, tell my audience who you are, and tell, just a kind of an intro to the topic at hand, your introductory thoughts. And we're going to start with Karl Marx. Go ahead. What you got?
So, I think that for free speech to be protected and for freedom to be protected, generally, you need to enact some limitations on that. And we know this as well. We know it's very clear what kind of speech can lead to, actual violence outside of just that speech. What kind of thing is dangerous. We know that there's plenty of fucking possible like misinformation, that kind of thing, which would be covered by your absolute free speech stance. Which would end up, potentially harming people. And there's quite a lot of reasons, like there's thousands and thousands of reasons why absolute free speech would actually be an awful, terrible idea. That's all. And I'm Max. I'm Karl Marx. You might know from Twitter. I also stream. What's up?
Well, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to see how you do. Dev, please.
Well, my name's Dev. The only reason I have a name like Short Fat Otaku is because I started this channel when I was much younger, doing anime content with my friends back in my hometown. It just hung on. It doesn't. I mean, I still like anime. It doesn't really describe me anymore, though. I'm still short and fat, though. That's for sure.
Okay.
I don't know why you're under the impression.
You get taller?
Sorry, no. I'm 5'7". That's just how it is. I'm just a short guy. That's it.
I respect it. Don't worry.
I don't know why you think I'm a free speech absolutist. When did I say that?
On Twitter, we talked about this. I said, I don't know. You said something about free speech. I said that it was silly, and then you said that people should be able to Hitler salute up and down the road if they want, as long as they're not engaging in any actionable threats.
Yes, but that's not free speech absolutism.
I mean, it almost is, right? I mean, okay, free speech absolutism. Minus this one stipulation, but that's like your only one that you mentioned.
So I decided to look it up. So the only time I've ever said the word absolutist on this Twitter account, I've had many Twitter accounts, but on this one, there was some lefty who was saying something about like, talk to these free speech absolutist guys and see if they'll make jokes about the January 6th protesters. And I was like, yes, I will. Ashley Babbitt off more than she could chew. So it's like, I decided to pull up all the tweets that you're talking about from that conversation. So it was something about was it the 16-year-old trans girl who was she stabbed or did she kill herself? I forget the story.
She was
in
murdered
the UK.
by two.
She was murdered. Yeah,
guys, I believe 2 boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Valid Els was making fun of this tragic event, and I basically said, as terrible as that is, it's still edgy, dark comedy. It's not to my taste personally, but like, should they be censored for that? Should that be illegal? No, no, I don't think so. And then Dreamleaf, because Dreamleaf hates me, said something about it. And then I said, yes, free speech, even for people like Valid Els, continue to cry about it in your hug box. And that's kind of what kicked this off.
Right.
I said,
Can we
shitting on a
talk about
trans
that?
teen, shitting on a trans teen being killed, as utterly distasteful as it is still free speech. I will defend a fascist insofar as doing so aligns with liberal values, like defending their right to free speech, just as I would for any other type of politics that is also morally repugnant. So this isn't a free speech absolutist stance, because I mean there are definitely actual threats, obviously, because now you're going to go out and hurt someone. But yeah, if you're going to goose step up and down the road as part of your fascist protest against the neoliberal world order or some shit, go ahead. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I'm fine with it. No, I'm not
mean-
fine with it. I don't like it, but like, you know what I mean? It's free speech.
Okay, Max, go ahead.
Isn't it impeding on the other residents' freedom who live there and might be, Jewish or something? Like, if there's somebody out there who's basically saying, "Hi, I believe in this ideology, which caused, which caused the population of like your ancestors to go down like I don't know, fucking 50% or something." Is that not like a threat in itself in a way?
No, it's not.
How's okay? Then what
Well,
do
you
you
don't
think
have-
it
you-
implies
you
when
don't
somebody
have-
is shown that they support Nazism?
It shows they support Nazism. I mean, they might also
And
want
what
to
is
exterminate
Nazism?
the Jews. Yeah, sure. They might also want to exterminate the Jews, obviously. I'm pretty sure Nick Fuentes, if you asked him, if you got him to actually say the truth, he might say he wanted to exterminate the Jews. But the point is that until it gets to actual violence, no, it's still speech. Like you don't have the right to move through life, unbothered by things happening around you, especially in the public square. No.
Mm-hmm. What if this sort of speech? I mean, I think yeah, you can have speech which functions within like the marketplace of ideas, but when we come to speech like what you hear from your average racist thread on 4chan, which basically boils down to people being like, these aren't people. They are trying to like take over. They're trying to kill us. That in itself, the like total devaluation of this group, making them like basically unable to have any real human agency, I think is more detrimental to free speech than like stopping this kind of speech actually is.
Why?
Why? Why do I think that's more detrimental to free speech?
Yes.
Because it creates bubbles of people who cannot interact with the members of these groups, and then therefore it like ends up denigrating their value, their rights, and it removes their political power over time.
I don't think that tracks. Just because one group of people might hate another group of people doesn't mean that other group, and it's only hatred, it's only speech. I don't think that disenfranchises them.
It's not only speech though; it leads to more. Like when we think about
when it leads to
how
more,
many...
we can then when it leads to more, we can then take action on that. If it's just speech, it's just speech.
Well, yeah, but speech is going to lead to something, right? Speech isn't just like it isn't just sounds; it's a communication. If you're communicating ideas which are going to end up being dangerous and can like if they get executed, they are going to cause a lot more harm than like the existence of the ideas like cause any good. Then why would you want to allow for that? Why would you want to like risk that? Because what benefit is it really bringing to allow people to say all N-words should die?
You're in like the paradox of tolerance kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we can speak about it like that, but like for one, but mainly my thing is that I want to look out for most is avoiding radicalization, and I think this sort of speech being permitted is what like causes that. So yeah, in a way, yeah. If you're allowing that kind of thing to exist and you're allowing it to be accessible to people in not a very difficult way, you will end up having way more people who are radical and like unreachable as well by way of how these sorts of groups function.
If I may ask, just for my clarification, what do you mean by allow?
What, like allow? I mean that you allow it to be hosted on the like publicly accessible internet.
Sorry, my own feed cut out there a bit.
And also thank you for the $100. You're a hero. Dugum Hacks, really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. That's kind of a funny super chat, but okay. But anyway, no, I'm sorry. My own feed cut out like halfway through what you said there. You have to say it again. I'm sorry.
Oh shit! Wait, can you repeat the question for me?
What do you mean by allow?
Oh
It
wait,
was just
Dev,
before
did you hear
you said
before
that.
that?
I heard like a bit before that, but not all of it. I'm sorry.
Wait, what was I saying before that then?
Well, I brought up Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance and asked if that's what you were talking
Mhm.
about.
Yes, yeah, I said that like the availability of this sort of like behavior and like the way that it is just presently there on a lot of online spaces, especially talking about things like Facebook, for example, like 4chan, like Twitter, it will often be pushed upon you, especially if you're a member of a certain demographic they think might be like more vulnerable to that kind of thing. Because this is how algorithms work, right? They're going to feed you like the shit you're going to be most like sensitive to and most vulnerable to, and therefore it ends up like leading to this kind of cycle of discrimination where like this like group of people is kind of indoctrinated into this sort of viewpoint by way of it existing and by way of it being something that's inflammatory and you know easily accessible and is like pushed upon these sorts of people.
Okay. I guess my two questions are: the first one, you said availability of behavior, but I mean, we're not talking about behavior, we're talking about speech, right? Nothing real world is happening yet.
What do you mean? I don't. I mean, it's
So here,
both.
let me put it this way. So like, if someone is being ridiculously racist on 4chan, and then
Mhm.
does nothing in real life, should they somehow be stopped? Like, should they be censored by the government? Should the website censor them? Should it be illegal? Should they be
Yeah, the
charged?
the,
Go to
the
prison? Like,
post
what's the limit here?
if they're being ridiculously racist on 4chan and they're promoting basically dehumanizing and you know what could then by extension eventually be like genocidal ideas, I do think that it is fair to censor them.
Okay, by what
But
method
I
though?
think they shouldn't be like punished or anything unless they have actually like caused palpable harm past just being like a shithead online. But I do think that this kind of speech should be, you know, taken down so people don't just like see it and it's not just commonplace.
By the government, to
Okay.
be clear?
Hmm?
By the government, to be
By
clear. You think the
taken
government
down
should
by the
take down these
government?
things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the government should
Okay.
make social media companies regulate that.
Okay, so it's not that the owner of 4chan should be left up to, let's say, police this speech, because if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to, right? The government should step in and make it happen, basically.
Yeah, I think there should be set rules for how we how what kind of speech is allowed, especially because some of it can get very violent. And there is a huge link between like these sorts of like esoteric online like hate groups and terrorism, right? Are you aware
I,
of how
I,
like strong that link is?
yes. I guess my second question
Okay.
was that you said algorithms feed by most to the most vulnerable. I'm not sure that's how algorithms work. That's not really that big of a deal. That's not like that's like a side
Well, I
question.
mean, if you're part of a certain demographic, like if you're a young male, a young white male or whatever, you're probably going to be a lot more likely to receive a recommendation for, you know, Jordan B. Peterson than like a, you know, an older woman might be. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Well, sure, but I mean, are young white males the most vulnerable?
I mean, I
Or
think
did,
young
did I
white
get your
males are
idea wrong?
pretty vulnerable. I don't,
Um,
I don't really know what you're trying to, what you're trying to
See, I
say
just
here.
I just didn't understand what you said when you mentioned the algorithm part. So I'm just asking what's going on here. But I'm not sure it actually matters that
The
much.
algorithm
Well,
will feed you content they know that people from your demographic like, right? If people from
yeah,
your
like
demographic are like susceptible to,
okay,
yeah,
yeah, and no, I get it. I thought you were saying something else with that. Sorry, that was my bad.
okay, no
Okay,
worries.
I guess the question is, it then has to be, who gets to decide what is censorable and what isn't, and why is
Mhm.
that the standard and not any other standard? So, because just to be clear, I mean, from what I understand of you, you are a market socialist, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Um, are you a market socialist because you believe it to be a a realistic stepping stone to something that's more radical, or is that your actual end state of politics?
That it really depends for me because I care most about maximizing happiness. And if people were happiest under market socialism and they didn't want anything else, which I think might be the case for a lot of people, given how like consumerism and you know markets themselves have kind of integrated themselves into our culture. So if we went to that point and people were happy, then I would be fine with staying there. I mean, I don't really care. I just want, you know, I want to increase the greater good.
Right, right. No, the reason I ask is because last time I spoke to Merrick, she said that she was a market socialist, but only as a way to like boil the frog on bringing in actual communism. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that would even work, but those are two different types of
I don't think
politics.
most people want communism. You know, that's
No,
why
I
I
don't think so
don't
either.
say I'm a communist. Like, I think most people want socialism. I think they don't know it.
I don't know about that,
But
dude. I don't know. I don't know about that.
no,
But
I do. I do. I think that's accurate. Do you think people want capitalism?
yes,
Really? What
yes,
about people? I mean, okay. Why do you think they want it?
because I think all of the material conditions of the proletariat can be alleviated through various
Whoa.
social programs.
Marxist speak. Holy shit.
Yes. I was a Marxist when I was your age, in fact. I'm in my 30s now, but when I was 19,
What
I was a young
happens?
Marxist.
I hear
I
this shit a lot. I don't know what
I
happens. Is there like a brain damage
I
rock that
grew up,
goes around and
basically.
gets Marxist?
I grew
You
up.
grew up.
Yep.
Well, wait, what views
I w
changed though? Because every time I see you talking about socialism or Marxism or
mhm.
something, you seem to be it feels like you miss on your interpretation of it. Like I see you often. I've seen you say before that like socialists are actually tankies in disguise in a way. Is
Yes.
that me? Okay. What makes you say that?
Uh, I'm now going to insult every single anarchist on the left and on the right. It's because anarchism is a giant
Oh, you can insult anarchists. Okay,
because
I'm not going to stop
because
you there. Okay, I'll shit on an anarchist.
basically like the anarcho-communists. They think if you abolish the state, everyone's going to live in some sort of classless, stateless, moneyless society. That's not going to work. You
Right.
have the anarcho-capitalists. If you abolish the state, everyone's going to be like these individual homesteaders that are all going to live on their little plots of land. That's not going to work. Anarchism is probably the single dumbest political theory I've ever read in my entire life.
I mean,
Basically, or
anarchism, I
socialism.
believe, is more a set of vibes, you know? I don't know.
But listen, socialism, because it requires some sort of like centralized command economy, it's got to be
Mhm.
authoritarian. It has to be state socialism. And if it's state socialism, you have a lot of problems. So yeah, I do think like man, I know Hassan isn't a tanky, but I don't know if either of you have seen
Oh,
that
Hassan, I
recent.
think he might be a tanky. I don't know. Hassan's pretty fucking
Yeah.
retarded, though.
Well, this is the thing. Everyone comes out as a tanky eventually. I saw him on that one. Was it like Second
That's
Thoughts podcast or something? And he was on there
okay.
talking about like re-education, like re-educating people so that they have the proper class consciousness and all this bullshit. I'm like, no, man, no. Basically, if you talk to pretty much any socialist, even
Mhm,
most democratic socialists, if you really
mhm.
get them to hammer down what's going on, they understand that some amount of state force, way too much for my liking, is going to be required to make it work.
You could say that about any political ideology, apart from like anarchism, right?
Yes, you
That's
could,
you need some
but
degree of state force to make it work.
mhm,
So how
the
is that
difference
argument
is,
exclusive to? Go on.
well, the difference is that when it comes to liberalism, it is a minimum amount of state force required for me, which is pretty good.
Mhm.
The liberals, they still use their fair share of state force,
I
but
disagree.
socialism requires way more, and I
Just
think fascism requires way more as well.
just to
Definitely,
interject here,
yeah.
if we want to go past free speech, we are more than welcome to. But I don't know if you want to get back on the rails or we want to
I'm
continue
easy
down
to
liberalism versus
move as we move.
non-liberalism. It's
We
related.
can talk about whatever,
Yeah,
whatever,
it's up
whatever.
to you.
I'm okay with anything.
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, shit. Wait. God damn it! You'll have to forgive me my tiredness. It's midnight here. What point? What point was I just making? What was I responding to?
Wait, are you in the
Uh,
UK or?
I'm in Germany. I used to live in
Okay.
England. I'm going to move back to
Yeah, yeah.
England, but I live in Germany at the
Uh,
moment.
Basically, what I said was that if we're talking about state force, well,
Mhm.
actually, now that I realize it, I
Oh
want
yeah.
to revise what I'm saying here. One is
Oh,
that
okay.
socialism requires more state force than liberalism, and two, liberalism's use of
Mhm.
state force is more justified morally than socialism's is.
Oh, okay. Can you justify that to me?
Well, I mean, it's just
Can,
gonna come down to like moral intuitions, right? Like, I think that protecting private property is good. You don't. And I have a certain set of
why is
values
it
that
good
like,
though?
well, it's good because I think it's good.
Wow. Do you have further reasoning?
Well, that's everyone's reasoning in the end, right? Like if I were to talk to you,
I
you would
disagree.
say, well, no, if I were to talk to you, you'd be like, well, it causes less harm, right? Because lefties like to use less harm as something, and then we could go down the
No, I
rabbit
mean
hole of
I,
why
I
it
could
causes
I
less
could
harm.
explain it to you.
Okay, go ahead, go
It,
ahead.
I
yeah, I
think.
am curious. Can you ask why it does more harm to protect private property than it would otherwise as well? I'm curious on that.
Well, there's a lot of first of all, there's a lot of like property which is like which belongs to somebody and is some in somebody's hands, but doesn't actually get like used properly. For example, if we look at like real estate investment firms that just have like fucking 1,000 houses in some city that they bought, and like the city's got like hundreds of homeless people, but they like haven't sold the houses yet because they've been jacking up the prices, and then therefore like they have to wait for some richer person to arrive. I think in that case, it's a pretty clear example of why private property would then end up being more damaging than it's actually helpful, because it's preventing people who need a thing from being able to access that thing, right?
That's okay. That's one example. If that's the case, if there is private property that's not being used by its owner, what gives you the moral right to take it? Is not. I mean, is it just need? You need it, therefore you can have it.
Well, it's more about what gives them the moral right to have it. Because when you were talking about people who have like vast amounts of private property, right? And you know the distinction between personal and private property, of course, I'm assuming.
I know it in the Marxian sense, but I think it's a stupid idea.
Well, okay. In what way do you think is a stupid idea?
I think that when it comes down to like in the real world, there is no real distinction between personal and private property. Not really. I know so for example, sometimes what some Marxists will say is like personal property is stuff that you just need it for yourself, but private property you can use to make profit off of, right? And it's like, well,
I mean, that
That
depends as
that doesn't
well.
really work
No,
in the real world anymore because you can like work out of your house and like have your own business and shit. So like it doesn't really work.
that's
Um,
not really the distinction that's being made, though, I don't think.
okay, what's your distinction then? Go ahead.
I mean, my distinction is usually that, I mean, yeah, private property for one is a thing that you don't use, but it's also often like something that's like actually that you own, and then but it's like used by like a bunch of people who aren't like even you. Like most of the time, private property isn't actually talking about the shit that you're actively using, because that would then make it like personal property. Therefore, you can't really say, like, yeah, private property would take away all these things from these people that they're actually using, because then it would be not really private property.
Okay. Well, hold on. I have two questions. I have two very different questions here, and they both go in very different directions. I don't know which one I want to ask.
Do you want to just write one down and give me the first, and we can work at
I
it?
think I've already forgotten one anyway, so oh well.
Fair enough.
It's already
here we
gone.
go
Like
then.
the universe is
But
decided for us. Go ahead.
yeah, I guess. So I guess that means that like so the guy who has in his garage, 15 3D printers and he's making all of his own goods and he sells them. He would be petty bourgeois, right? And that would be personal property that he is using to make a profit. But
I
because he is
think
using
because
those
he owns
15.
his own means of production, I think he might qualify as petty bourgeois. I
Yeah.
can't recall the exact
Yeah,
definitions there. I don't want to say
uh,
something wrong.
petty bourgeois is the class of people who own the means of production for themselves,
But
but
they're
they
not
also
like
work them.
giga rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not just like
Yeah.
stockholders who like own part of a company, but don't actually work in the company. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for you, basically, ownership amounts to use, then, at least morally speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's a big part of it for me. I mean, think about it, right? I mean, everyone knows that it's like really depressing to see a thing that you really want and somebody has it, but they'll never use it because they don't actually like want it or need it that badly. But you being someone who makes like, I don't know, one fucking tenth of what they make, you'll never be able to have that thing. You'll have to like save up for like 3 years to be able to have it or something, you know? Like these sorts of inequalities just make me think that it's just a very dysfunctional and depressingly shit kind of system, you know?
No, that doesn't bother me that much, to be honest. I'm not when
You,
I see somebody richer than me, it doesn't bother me. I'm usually fine with it. Um,
really?
I guess no.
You don't feel any certain way about being told your like fucking man hours are worth like, I don't know, one like fucking 20th of what someone else's is?
No.
Why not? Sounds
Well,
cucked. With
no, it's
respect.
with respect. No, it doesn't bother me at all because I think this is just part of the age gap thing, right? I've worked a bunch of different jobs. I've worked some shitty jobs. I've worked some nice jobs. I've worked some blue collar jobs. I've worked some white collar jobs. I've worked in
Mm.
academia. I've worked in a library. Worked in a school. And now I
Oh,
own
me
my own
too. I
company.
worked in a
You
But
know?
school.
Dev, if I may
Hmm?
ask,
Sure.
certainly if you were in a situation where, for example, you didn't have a car, You lived somewhere where you kind of needed a car, but you didn't have a car. Maybe your car was old and beat up and you needed a new one. And then you saw some rich motherfucker who owned 20 Bugattis win or was gifted another Lamborghini. You wouldn't feel any kind of way about that?
I'm not really a jealous person at heart, no.
Okay.
For me, the way that I view it is like, I know my own value. I know what I can do. You know, I know. Like I'm at the point now where like
Let's not.
well, hold on. Let me say it. Let me say it. So
Okay.
I've racked up my fair share of wins and losses in life. All right. I know what I can kind of I can pull off for myself, and I know that if I want a car, I'll be able to buy my own. Which, by the way,
Okay.
I did, based off my
Good
own
for
labor.
you.
So like, here's the thing. Like, I know that lefties don't like the bootstraps argument. You are definitely an anti-bootstraps kind of guy. I've seen some of your streams at this point. You don't like, but like, if you're giving someone, like, if someone comes to you and like asks for advice on what to do with his life, the you know the it's gonna have to be bootstraps. Your advice has to be bootstraps
Okay.
because
Wait. Can I
social
hit you
systems
with?
aren't changing.
Okay.
They aren't changing. Not right now, anyway. And also, it wouldn't even be good if they did.
Max,
That feels defeatist.
go ahead.
Anyway, however, let me give you a better example then. Let's not talk about you, given that your hubris outmatches capitalism. Let's imagine that you are back to working in a school. I don't know what kind of school you worked in. Let's pretend it's with younger kids, right? And you see them. It's like the end of Christmas holidays, and they've all come back. And then you have like all the kids talking around the classroom, and then you have the one kid who got like one thing because his parents are too poor and he couldn't get more. And then he's got like his friend who's like wealthy, and he got like fucking 4 times the presents that kid does over like 10 years or something, you know? Wouldn't that inequality and that like sadness that child would experience, wouldn't that make you feel sad? And wouldn't that make you kind of, you know, question the functionality of the system if this like small child is suffering by no fault of their own?
Well, of course, but I think that those conditions can be ameliorated, to use Vosh's
Mhm.
term, his favorite word, through basically just through like welfare capitalism, through social programs. I don't think we need socialism to do it. And in
I mean,
fact,
okay, I
I
don't.
don't think socialism would actually achieve it, frankly, as well.
Why do you not think socialism would achieve it?
Well, that's a rabbit hole, which I'm happy to go down.
Mhm.
But I wrote down a question that I actually want to ask you before we go down that rabbit hole.
And
Sure,
also,
let's do it.
before you ask the question, I'm curious why you think it would, Max. But ask the question, then we can go down that rabbit hole. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, how come you think that the bootstraps mentality is defeatist?
The bootstraps mentality. Well, you said that the systems aren't going to change, and therefore you should be telling people to bootstraps if they ask you for advice. If I was listening correctly.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yes.
Mhm. Okay. Well, yeah, I feel like that's defeatist because you're saying the system as it is now is unchanging and unfixable, and therefore there's not really any point in, you know,
Oh, okay,
trying
okay.
to
Here,
do anything
let
else.
me let me explain. Right, like here let me
Mhm.
put it this way. Let's say, a young 18. Jesus Christ, you're 19. That's right. This won't work for you. Okay, a young
I'm nearly 20.
here.
I'm getting
Pretend
big.
you're in your 30s. All right. Imagine a guy who just came of age comes up to you, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Man, I don't know what to do. Like, I got to figure some things out. It's going to be hard. Like, what do I do?" You could tell him,
Mhm.
"Well, go to school, work hard, get a decent job. Advice that you could actually do yourself, or become
Mhm.
a professional activist, change all of society around you. Like, what advice are you going to give him?" Obviously, the more realistic advice in the short term is work on yourself.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can give both, but I mean, this the notion of that kind of thing of like encouraging positive like labor and stuff like that. It's not like that goes missing under socialism. It just means that you don't have like your entire like comfort and existence balancing on like how well that pans out for you. You know.
So I guess then, when it comes to socialism, yeah, I don't think that socialism will. Here, you know what? I don't want you to have to defend all of socialism because you're a market socialist and you're not sure if you'd go past that. So that
Very
would be
kind.
unfair. I don't think that even market socialism would work out in doing this kind of stuff better than welfare capitalism.
I mean, I don't really see how the mechanisms would be that different when it comes to poor people if they're getting the stuff they need anywhere anyway. I mean, it would be form of welfare at that point, right? I think the main difference, if we're talking about like that kind of progressivism versus like socialism, it would be more the difference at the top versus at the bottom, like how many like giga rich people you have, not just like if you have poor people still.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I mean, okay, just so I understand what we're talking about. Market socialism, that is when you have not yet abolished the commodity form, but the means of production is owned by the workers collectively.
You try and abolish the commodity forms that can be abolished, and you kind of like work at it, but you don't totally get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you have a company where 10 people are working, you all own 10% of the company rather than there being one owner and 9 workers.
I mean, it depends on the distribution of labor. Let's not say that every single worker will be receiving exactly the same if they're not working the same amount. And if there is labor that takes more effort, I think you can have a difference in pay, but not like a huge one. It should
Well,
be.
not pay, but ownership, right?
I mean, sure, you can see that
Okay,
pay model
I
as a
am
version of that.
okay. We are kind of dancing around a lot of things. Let me try, if I may. Karl
Sure.
Marx, right? Why do you think that market socialism is better than capitalism? Why, and be concise if you can. Why do you advocate for that rather than what Dev advocates for, which is welfare within the capitalist system?
Because I
Why
think
is that?
socialism is because I think socialism is democratic. I think that capitalism is in itself, it's unequal. It promotes a world which isn't democratic. You know, I think we can see that as well, right? We can see how like the most rich companies have way disproportionate influence, and how hundreds of thousands or even millions of poor people can barely change a thing if they don't have the funds to do it. I think capitalism promotes this kind of terrible, just totally undeserved inequality, and therefore we should be trying to instate socialism as much as possible in order to avoid that and to reduce it.
Okay. So why is it more good if it's more democratic?
Because I like it when people have equal rights.
Okay, but do you have any more explanation than that?
Isn't that a good answer? Do you not think?
No, no, it's not.
How so? Because
So when
do
it
you
comes
not
to
think they have
democracy,
unequal? Okay,
I
go
mean,
on.
well, here, I mean, some forms of inequality are fine with me. Frankly, it depends on what we're talking about. My answer for almost all of these like broad ideological questions is going to be it depends. So, is democracy good? Well, it depends. There are some things where it's actually much better that it's not democratic. You know, should the entire world have a
Okay.
vote on whether or not I can fuck another man? The answer to that is no, they should not.
Mhm,
Their vote should have nothing to do with it. It should be
mhm.
entirely my choice and my partner's obviously. But if I'm in an intolerant society, their democracy will necessarily infringe on me, right? So there are obviously some instances and in some institutions where you don't want democracy to be the ultimate source of power.
I mean, I think that depends as well. I mean, we do
Could you
have rules and
imagine?
regulations.
Could you imagine if after 9/11, America had a vote on whether to nuke Iraq, Afghanistan, the whole Middle East into glass? How would that have gone?
I think they would have all just said yes.
Yeah, it would have been glass. So yes, democracy good, kind of.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, that's why, like with free speech, we have stipulations. You know, with democracy, we still do have things like protected classes and human rights and stuff to kind of center ourselves around, and that does make things better. But I do agree that not necessarily everything should be done democratically, because I think the people won't be experts on everything. I think you should try and do a mix of as much democracy as possible, but hope like bring in as many like actually educated voices as you can. I find that a lot of people who like talk about who talk about making things super democratic kind of fail to remember that people can be kind of uneducated sometimes, and working at that is really necessary to actually making society as democratic as it should be, you know.
We are one step closer to the re-education camps, guys. To Hassan's re-education camps.
I'm gonna gulag you. Yeah, that's what
So,
you get for being mean on Twitter.
Twitter's too much fun, dude. It's awesome.
What's
Okay.
with the anger, man? You sound so angry on Twitter.
Oh no, I'm actually never angry. Usually, I'm traveling and bored. That's all Twitter is. Is I'm fucking around.
I don't know, because like the vibes I got from your videos versus like how we interacted, it gave me
Mhm.
whiplash, dude.
Oh, what video did
Very.
you watch?
I watched a fair few. I went back. I did my research. You know,
Oh
I
yeah.
like to figure out who I'm arguing with. I
Uh,
saw your debate on authoritarianism, where you posited that same argument that some things shouldn't be left up to everybody.
oh, was that the Adam and Sitch show with
I
Sargon?
think it might have been. Oh
Oh,
no, I would have remembered if it
oh,
was Sargon. Oh
yeah, it
yeah.
was the four of us.
I want to talk about Sargon, but I feel like we should probably talk about other stuff as well.
Well, we can if you want. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't agree with him, but he's my friend. Yeah.
Okay.
Even
Are
though
you
we have
willing
like
to?
what?
Mhm.
What's up?
No, no, you go first. I'm curious.
Oh, basically, just even though we have political disagreements, I don't throw people under the bus for them. You know, like we've been friends
Mhm.
now for like 8 or 9 years, and he's drifted more right wing than me for sure. But I'm okay with it.
Is
You know.
there just, if I may ask on that note, is there a
Hmm?
point where you would be like, okay, what you're advocating for, or what you're saying is so far beyond the pale that we just cannot be friends anymore?
It's going to be the same line with speech if it's
Mm.
violent.
Okay.
If they
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
commit
Fair
violence,
enough.
then no. But if they have very strange, wacky ideologies on the fringes of either direction, no, I'm fine with it.
Hmm. Wait a minute. Let me see.
So if he wanted all streamers to be camped, he hadn't put any streamers
Can't.
in a camp, but he was like, you know what? I want all streamers to be gulagged. I want them to be in the camps. I'm going to advocate for this, and I'm going to try to pass laws that make this happen. You'd be okay with that?
Well, me isolating myself from him would not actually make that situation any better. If I can still talk to him, maybe I can talk him out of it.
Do you think it was right that he got his channel demonetized? Does he even have his channel anymore? I haven't kept up.
Oh, well, he still has the original Sargon channel, but he barely posts there. He started a
Mhm.
news outlet.
Oh
He
no.
he runs it's like a right-wing think tank now in the UK. There's like a daily
No
podcast.
way.
There's a bunch
Yeah,
of they
shocking.
have like actually, you know what? Give me just a second.
I'm curious about that though. I would probably watch that. Wait, do you think you could ever
It's
hook
called
me
the
up to
Lotus
argue with
Eaters.
him?
No, I definitely cannot.
Aw, that's sad. It's worth a shot. Worth a shot.
I'm slowly trying to convince him to talk to like not so erudite who is
I think
much
I've seen
more
them.
reasonable and in the center about things. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna work him up to that first. But hold on
Wait,
a
did you
second.
answer my question about if he
What
should
was the
have been
question?
taken off YouTube?
Uh, you said demonetized, right? I don't think you should have. No.
Yeah. You
Oh,
don't
but
think
here.
he should have?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember exactly why, but I don't think so. I'm
I
gonna
mean, I can
send
read
this.
out some quotes if you want.
Uh,
Uh,
you can if you like, but let me just send this to both of you.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are you putting it?
okay.
Just as
Can I
I'm
look at this
deeming
on
it.
stream? What is this?
Yeah, you can look at it on the stream. It's
Okay.
basically what Sargon's doing now. So, like, people are
Okay.
saying, so like he does like
Like a
book
book
reviews
club, it looks
now,
like. Yeah.
book club. He does like history videos. He's doing discussions on philosophy, and then he has his this is a critical race theory series that he did. Basically, he's doing like right wing think tank stuff. He has like a dozen employees, daily podcast.
Mhm.
He puts out a ton of content, and he's actually very successful. He's just abandoned the Sargon name at this point. He's built up a
That's
whole company,
interesting.
and
Hmm.
people think he like disappeared, but no, he's still around. It's just called the Lotus Eaters
That's
now.
how it seems to go with most of these, what I'm gonna call grifter types. They
There's
always
no
seem to
way
pop up
Sargon's a
somewhere else.
grifter. There's no way Sargon's a grifter.
Wait, you don't think Sargon's a grifter? What do you think he
Absolutely
is?
not.
What do you think a
Hold on.
grifter is?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, a grifter is somebody who regularly like purport fucking viewpoints that they know that will get their audience engaged and like concerned. And I think a lot of right wing figures who tend to be, you know, very alarmist, very dramatic, especially white supremacists like Sargon,
But there has to be
who
another
will
step in
Sargon is
there.
not a white supremacist,
Look,
dude.
there
Come
has
on.
to be another
Sargon
step in
isn't a
there. And
white
it's not
supremacist.
grifting. Just real
No.
quick.
Wait,
No,
you want
this
me
not,
to
stop,
you want me to
please, please.
read this
This is
out to
important.
you?
This is important though.
Wait.
It's not
Okay, wait,
grifting
really
if
quick.
someone is actively getting their audience engaged and actually believes in what they're saying, right? That's what
Oh,
leftists do all
wait,
the
did
time, is
I?
it not?
Yeah. I mean, look, you could say some leftists will grift as well. I
No,
think that
that's
there's
not
a difference though,
grifting.
because
That's
I
just
think
not
that
grifting.
right wingers are lying a lot more of the time. But
Hold on a
that's,
second. Hold on a second.
my
Here.
belief.
So grifter means
I
a
can-
person who here. Let me just say this: a person who engages in petty or small-scale swindling. A necessary part of that is
Yeah.
believing that what you're saying is false. So if you think that what Sargon's saying is false, that's one thing. That's completely fine. But if Sargon believes what he's saying and he's putting his ideas out there, even if you disagree, it's not grifting because he's not lying. He genuinely believes
Oh,
it.
I do not know if I don't know if I believe that. But I also know that you can't look in his head and I can't look in his head, and I probably won't believe you. But let me tell you why I think he's a white supremacist. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me read this out to you.
Sure,
This
sure.
is I got like a full page of text here.
Oh God. All
It's
right,
not too
let's
much.
hear it.
Don't worry. In 2 videos, one of which has been recently deleted by YouTube, Benjamin repeatedly used the N-word. He said a YouTuber and the alt-right were, quote, can I say slurs on here? Wait a minute.
We
I
are on
probably
Twitch,
shouldn't,
so
huh?
no, do
Okay.
not. Okay.
He said people on the alt-right were F-slurs, the gay one, and acting like N-words with the hard R, in showing him disrespect because white people are supposed to be polite. He said that Jewish people need to drop identity politics. He said,
Hold
I'm
on,
sorry
here.
about the Holocaust, but I don't give a shit.
Okay, so
Pretty
yeah, no,
quite a
that all
take.
sounds pretty fucking base to me. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you wanna be
Yes. Okay, so
anti-caring
I,
about the Holocaust?
I recall that stream because I watched it. This was like 6 or 7 years ago. I was there in that audience.
Okay.
What I remember, first of all, I don't care about the F slur. All right, I'm cool with it. As
I
somebody
mean,
who's
I'm in
as
the middle of
somebody
the
who
road
sucks
though.
dick, you can say it as much. I give you all passes. Every
Oh,
single
yeah, I
person
mean,
listening.
in that
Go
case,
ahead.
obviously, but it
Is that
depends,
the
right? If you hear a
key
straight
to
person,
unlocking that slur? You have to suck a dick, and then you can
Yes.
say it. Okay.
That
look, I
to be
only
fair,
was
it
able to
didn't
say
work for
after I
Destiny.
sucked my
It didn't
first
work for
dick
Destiny
too.
though. It didn't work for Destiny. He still got banned. But no. Here's the thing. When Sargon was when it comes to the big one, all right, the hard R, all right. What he didn't actually, what he actually said was white N words specifically.
That's a
And the
different
reason.
quote.
Oh, really? So he was
Yeah.
probably paraphrasing it then, because what was going on is there was a bunch of Nick Fuentes followers
Wait,
in
how
the
does that
chat.
justify it?
Well, hold on, I'm going to explain.
Okay.
So there was a bunch of Nick Fuentes followers in the chat, and he was debating somebody who was actually part of what was used to be called the alt right. Doesn't really exist anymore, but the alt right. And he was debating somebody there, and the person went up to go get a drink or something, and then he was yelling at their chat room, and he said the best way, this was his logic, the best way to do it was to insult them using their own framework. So they hate black people, they hate N-words. He was going to call them white N-words. And he said, listen, by your own measurements, you should be acting better than this. You're all acting ridiculous. That was basically what he was saying. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I am fine with like a Vosh style
Look,
drop some
if it
slurs
were,
yeah.
if it were just a tactical N-word, which were
Yes.
truly just tactical, perhaps I'd let it slip. I'm a Vorshite after all. However, there are like a multitude of fucking clips where he's clearly just being racist. Like I understand you don't want to be like, yeah, my friend who I'm like my guy who I'm friends with is like blatantly racist, but he is. Like, come on. I mean, I
Hold on.
can read you more examples, but
Well,
why not
just
just
wait a second,
admit that he's
second.
racist?
So
Mhm.
you said white supremacists specifically. I don't care about racial humor.
Mhm.
I don't even care about the use of slurs. Remember, the original conversation is free speech. You know what? Use every single slur you like. If you don't have hate in your heart, I don't care. Use them all. Use them every single day of your life. Use them in every single
Okay.
conversation. Do it.
I mean, yeah, I don't care about like contextless slurs which aren't actually used to like fucking attack someone, right? Or to like harass them. I don't care about that. If somebody says the N-word while like listening to NWA, I do not give a shit. It's fine.
Mhm.
I just care if it's like used to actively like fucking justify you know, things like racist hate crimes, which like the internet has become more and more kind of responsible for in a way.
It
With
definitely
like
has, yeah, for
over
sure.
like almost 90% of fucking
The sub to
terrorists being people
PewDiePie
that
shit.
spawned off the internet.
Yeah,
Huh?
the whole sub to PewDiePie shit. I remember. I remember all the memes and all the things that used to be. A few years ago. Hold on, I'm just stretching.
Yeah, you're a Gamergate era person, aren't you?
Yeah, actually from before that, but yeah.
Do you think you've changed your views much since then? So I'm
No,
curious.
absolutely
No?
not. Nope.
What
was
did you
pretty
do?
sad.
You like bitched about feminists and that kind of thing, like the usual
No,
GamerGate shit, or what?
my big contribution to Gamergate was, do you remember Phil Fish?
No, no, I'm sorry. I was like 13
You,
during
yeah,
Gamergate.
okay,
I don't remember too much from things like Smosh and that kind of shit.
yeah, the game Fez, maybe on the Xbox 360.
The one that like I think I do.
Rotated.
I
Yeah,
think.
little white guy ran around. You like rotated the camera angle and like changed the layout.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
played that on my
So,
DS or something.
oh yeah. Oh okay. So basically back during Gamergate, during the heights of it, his company got hacked and all of his financial documents were put out there. Okay. And I
Mhm.
got a hold of those documents with my friends and we poured over them and we realized that Phil Fish, he was the only person ever in the history of the Indie Games Fund, or no, Indie Games Fest, sorry, the Indie Games
Mhm.
Fest, to win prizes in 2 separate years, which is ridiculous because your game only comes out once.
Oh.
Why did they win in I think 2008 and then 2012? It turns out that they justified it by saying, "Oh, in 2008, it was a demo that won prizes." And it's like, "Well, this is kind of bullshit, isn't it?" Like it was a
Mhm.
controversy back in 2012. And so 2014 Gamergate's happening. We have his financial documents because some sort of I think someone at his company got pissed with him and leaked them on the internet during Gamergate to like
Mhm.
rile everyone up, right? So we looked through it and we realized a bunch of people who were the investors into Phil Fish's company Polytron were also judges at the
Ha,
Indie Games
nice.
Fest. So
That's
that was
awesome. Fun.
my big contribution to Gamergate, was kind of sniffing that out, putting that out there, making a big old manifesto about it. And
Okay.
there's a reason why you don't see Phil Fish anymore. It's because
You took
Well,
him
you know
you
down. You
well, basically,
crushed
broke him off
him.
even
the
though
internet.
like I had like less than 5,000 subscribers at that point, I was a tiny channel, but it got
Mhm.
enough traction in the right circles that no one wants to work with him anymore. So he's just gone. And like now that I'm bigger,
Okay.
I've
That's
heard from
kind of a
people who are
W.
actually people who are actually like in the game industry have like messaged me and been like, yeah, like Phil, like no one except like the hyper progressive clique wants to work with Phil Fish anymore. He's done. He's out of gaming. It's like, oh well, okay. But
Mhm.
that's what I did during Gamergate. I was never involved in the harassment of women or any bullshit like that. I was always
Okay.
doing the investigative work.
Okay. No, I love me some investigation. I think that's a very fun thing. That's why I wanted to like get into streaming and stuff, so I can do like pseudo fucking journalism as best as I can with what I've got.
Mhm.
Seems
Yep,
like
yep,
fun.
yep. Yeah, so when it comes to Sargon, yeah, I don't care about jokes. I don't care about slurs. I don't care about, you know, if here's
These
the thing.
aren't really
Hold on.
jokes though. A lot of them.
If
Yeah,
okay,
go
well
on.
here, tell me the one that you think is the least joke.
The least joke. Wait,
Yeah.
let me here we are. There was one. Benjamin took part in a Google Hangout with far-right YouTube user who goes by the name Michelle Caitlin. The
Hmm.
discussion centered around how various far-right figures were making memes about Benjamin's self-proclaimed belief in liberalism. But over halfway into the 2-hour video, Benjamin seemed to lose his patience for the discussion. He repeatedly resorted to calling Caitlin the N-word for not being able to have a civilized conversation.
Hmm.
This was in
I
the
mean,
far right,
Um,
a bunch of far
well,
right people.
this was actually, I
he was
think, the
talking to someone
exact
else
same.
who was from the right.
It's this was the exact same stream as the white N words one because he only ever talked to Caitlin once.
He really likes saying it, huh?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
At what point do you just does some of these jokes start making you think, maybe this person sucks, or do you not think
Um,
racism can make somebody suck?
Needs more than racism, that's for sure.
Do you not think racism is often representative of other underlying, feelings and behaviors which are often problematic?
Sometimes, but like when I'm hanging out with people and we make racial jokes about each other, no, definitely
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
You know, if so, you know, if I have, I'm part white and part not white. If you want to make fun
Hmm.
of me for my heritage, go ahead. You want to come for me that I'm a Canadian, go ahead. I insult Sargon so much for being from the UK. I insult Arch Warhammer for being Norwegian. You know, I've made fun of Stardust for having for being from India. Like we all have fun and it's okay.
Right. But when it's like people talking about people who maybe didn't consent to that and aren't like involved in that in like a fun way or whatever,
Mhm.
like Sargon talking about I don't know. I need to find
Caitlyn,
more
well,
examples.
I think Caitlyn's white anyway. I think he was just
I
being a
mean, that
shit
doesn't
stirrer.
really change much to me. That just seems like he's like extra racist if he's willing to
Can
use
I
that
ask?
word anywhere.
Okay, well
I,
maybe maybe we can recenter this conversation a little bit.
Rather than being about Sargon.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Like I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't come packed with Sargon lore for this discussion. Maybe I should have. Maybe that was a mistake on my part.
Listen,
But let's talk.
here's
Go ahead,
I can give you a quick TLDR.
please.
Basically, there are certain political opinions of Sargon, especially ones these come into in the past 5 years, that I don't agree with. However, we are friends. I wouldn't betray his trust, and I don't think he's a racist at all. I think he's a shit stirrer, and it's as simple as that.
Do you not think somebody can be racist by way of them just wanting to shit stir though?
No.
Because I hear this excuse a lot.
Yeah, I don't
No?
agree. No.
You don't think that eventually, if somebody's like just trying to like be silly and provocative enough, that eventually they might like start actually thinking black people are inhuman after they say the N-word for like the 30th time?
Wait until they actually do it. It's
How
the
many
same standard I
times?
have for speech.
Yeah, how many times do you say
Wait.
the N-word before you become an
Th-
actual racist? Like, is it 10?
It sounds.
Is it like a spell?
It-
Like, is it weakening my oral psychic defenses? Right.
To me, it sounds like you keep on saying that you would always wait for ages, and that sounds like it would end up making it too late pretty much every time. What do you mean,
think
like,
so at
just
all.
wait for something to happen?
Yes. So I mean, when it comes to speech, say whatever you want, but the minute you become violent, then you're over the line.
Well,
That's
how?
that's the
Okay,
line.
what if somebody's got like a gun and they're being violent? How are you meant to stop them then? It's about prevention, right? Like we want to prevent this from happening in the first place, and it's not really going to work if you're like, oh, okay, well you just pulled the trigger. Obviously, now we have to fucking arrest you while you've got like a fucking assault rifle in Walmart or something. Like,
Okay. Yeah. So like,
you know, do you see
there's
what my
obvious.
issue is?
Yeah. So like the shooter who bursts through the door and he has the gun and he hasn't fired the first shot yet. I understand what you're saying. The idea is that he's already displayed the mens rea at that point to actually be violent, right? That's why for me the limit on speech should be actionable threats. So, if I'm laughing with you and joking and I say, ha ha, I'm going to kill you for that, that's not an actionable threat. You know that I don't mean it. I know that I don't mean it. Wick knows that I don't mean it. But if it's a real threat, then you step in.
Like if Dev started naming your name, actual name, address, and said 3 days from now I'm going to come to get you, that would be
What
a thing.
what criminals famously do is they announce their crimes and all the bad shit they're gonna do like 5-10 minutes before they do it. Every time. I mean, obviously this is silly, right? Like people aren't gonna say when they're gonna do something bad. Plenty of people will be very cryptic. I mean, I'm sure you're not unfamiliar with crypto fascism. People love to be kind of indirect about their beliefs. I mean, we have God, which genocide was it? The genocide of Rohingya, I think it was. Which where basically Facebook promoted a bunch of posts leading up to the genocide, condemning the group of people who were murdered, and portraying them as like inhuman and that kind of thing. And it often wasn't them being like, I am going to kill these people in the next like 100 days or something. It was them being like, these people are not part of our country. It's them, saying all of the like classic lines that I'm sure you've heard a million times from a million different races that you're friends with. You hear these like, or like portraying them as invaders, that kind of thing. Like there's very specific types of speech which like have the very clear express goal of dehumanizing and removing like the aspect that allows you to actually feel compassion for those people. And I think that's when speech becomes violent, when it like has like that clear intention,
Sure. So like eat the
And-
rich, kill the landlords, stuff like that.
Here's the thing.
I mean, I think
as
that
a
kind of
market
stuff's
socialist, I don't think
stupid
you
as
say
well
that,
a
do
lot
you?
of the time.
Yeah. That's
No,
what
I
was
think
gonna
it's
say, like,
stupid. I
yeah.
think it's like over the top and unnecessary. I'm not like a Maoist or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think Marx said like when our time comes, we will not apologize for the terror, right? And that was Marx.
Yeah, I saw you post that. Marx said a billion things. Okay, Marx also became like way more fucking reformist later on and so on. So
Most
I don't
people
know.
do,
I'm not gonna.
just like I did.
Well,
Just
yeah,
like
I was.
grew up when
I was
left
a
19.
fucking. I was like a tanky for like a week, and then I realized it was retarded, and then I stopped, and that was when I was like 14. And now I've moved on
Good
to
on
being
ya.
like very democratic, and that's why I'm also a socialist, because I think this is like the most easy to achieve democratically system. Like not easy, but most achievable with what people generally want, according to my beliefs and what I've seen like statistically as well, right? Like we see every next generation is more supportive of socialism. You know, they're more supportive of these like rules and legislations that would make life a lot easier and a lot less you know, kind of demanding of constant labor and all that. So
Well, I mean, I think upcoming generations are more in they're more in support of what we could properly call social democracy, right? Or like
no,
social
I mean this is
liberalism, right? If we're talking actual socialism, the workers own the means of production, some form of it, market or otherwise. If you actually told people what that entailed, I don't think that they would like it.
what do you think it entails? What do you think? What do you think you'd tell them that most people wouldn't like?
Well, I mean, if we're talking, or well, hold on, are we talking socialism or market socialism?
Let's talk market socialism,
Okay,
democratic market socialism.
yeah. So the idea that the workers collectively own the means of production rather than there being an owner class and a worker class. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think it would. I just think if you explain to them like how it functions, they'd realize it doesn't function. Right? There are just some problems that become insurmountable if you're actually working on, like, actually putting it into practice.
But
I can
there are
outline for you
like
if you want.
there are like examples of cooperatives and ways of revenue splitting and that kind of thing. Like
Oh,
this, it's
sure. I
not
mean,
like
I mean,
it's
I know
never
mondragon.
been
Yeah.
But
right.
this exists
It's
under
not like it's never
capitalism right
been.
now, correct?
Yeah, but there are plenty
Hmm.
of features in capitalism that could exist in socialism as well. Like, but
Okay,
the point is, I mean, we're in a mixed economy, right? We're
sure,
not in like a purely capitalist system or a purely socialist system. So yeah, you're gonna have some things
fair
like
enough.
some worker co-ops or whatever.
Sure. But I guess the issue is like when you say market socialism, what that
Mhm.
implies, maybe I'm wrong, what that implies is that all businesses have to be worker co-ops. Because you're right. Right now, you can make worker co-ops and just go work in them if that's what you want. You can have private owners and you can have group owners and you can do whatever you want. You can just mix it up. But
Mhm.
market socialism seems to imply that everything must be a worker co-op.
I mean, you have to have like worker democracy. Yeah, I think that would probably be a good thing. I
Okay,
mean, given the
in,
fact that go on.
well, here, let me put it this way. So, just to be more clear, in your ideal world, there'd be some sort
Mhm.
of government, some sort of law that basically made it illegal to have a privately owned firm. Every firm would have to be worker co-op.
I mean, I think eventually, right? I don't think it's not. I don't think it's like you could do that from like one day to the next. You know, I think it's something where you'd have
That
to
would be
go
your
like
goal.
sector by
That would be
sector,
your goal, though, right?
and
That's what you would
eventually,
want to
yeah.
eventually, maybe 10, 20, 50 years down the line, achieve. Yeah?
Hmm.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, okay. I don't think that works. I don't think you can have a fully worker co-op system. I don't think that will be functional.
Hmm.
Can't get
I
Dev.
don't
You
know.
keep saying, hold
Hard to
on,
say.
Dev. I want to ask Dev a
It's a
question
very
because Dev keeps
speculative
saying,
thing.
yeah, Dev
Sure.
keeps
Mhm.
saying, I don't think that works, right? And that's fine,
Mhm.
but I want to know why you think that wouldn't work. Like, can you give us some reasons why
Sure,
a
sure. Okay,
fully
yeah.
co-op system just wouldn't work?
Okay. So, one is that I think it would basically kill the transitional job market. All right. So let's say that you move to a new city to go to university and you need some part-time work. You're going to go work in a grocery store or something, right? Now, right now you can
Mhm.
just get a job, get paid, punch in, punch out, keep your head down, and then in 6 months you move on, right? You don't have to worry about any sort of workplace politics. You don't have to get more involved than you want. You can simply, yeah, in a Marxian sense, you're being exploited because there's surplus value that you're losing. But also, it's
Mhm.
very easy to get in and out of that kind of job, right? If you have,
That's
let's
not
say,
necessarily true. You have like work contract stuff. I don't understand the difference between this and
okay,
Yeah,
I mean
I
like
does. I guess I'm also failing to understand why transient workers would be disallowed under a co-op system. It could be discouraged, perhaps, right? It might be a little harder, but I don't think that would entirely go away.
well, one of the important parts of transient work is the it's very easy to get the job and it's very easy to quit the job. And in a purely market socialist system, it becomes very hard to get and
I
quit
don't know.
jobs. I know
I,
it does, and I'll explain why, right? So, if you let's say that you
I don't think it's
uh,
really easy to
Well, you got
get
let
jobs
him
now
explain why.
though,
Let him
but
explain why. I'm
here, hold on,
curious.
sure.
hold
I
on.
want to hear why, and then you can counter it because I'm curious why you don't think
So
that.
let's
But
say let's say that you and your 9 friends found a business, right? So and let's say
Mhm.
you're all working equally, just for hypothetical sake. All right. So you found your business. You each pay in $100 to found the business. It costs 1,000 to get all your tools and equipment and anything else you need. So you and your 10 friends, you're working, and then you decide you want to quit that business. All right.
Mhm.
Well, now, assume that your friends want to replace you with a new owner. Now you have to find somebody that you can sell your $100 share to, right? And that's kind of
Well, no,
that's
it'd
the
just
problem.
be, wouldn't that just go to the like larger distribution that they would have among the people? Wouldn't it then just
So,
be
well,
distributed among like ninths instead of tenths?
yeah, but like but okay. Well, then those other 9 people have to buy out your $100 share. They have to give you the $100 for quitting because you put it in. Like that's your investment in the business, right? When you cash out of the business, you have to sell your share. That's what being an owner means, is that you own part of the business so you can sell it. But if being an owner and being a worker are tied together, then quitting the job means cashing out and selling your share to someone, but also joining the firm means buying in. So let's say you have your business worth $1,000, right? And you have 9 people who all own 1/9 of the business, and you're going to hire person number 10. Person number 10 has to come in. It's like, well, shit, I got to buy 10% of this business. It's worth $1,000. I got to pay $100 just to get the job.
I don't think that's how it would work. I don't think that would be efficient. I don't think anybody would stick to that.
And that's why market socialism doesn't work.
Well, no, let's give Max. Max, why is that a fallacy? Why, in your opinion, would that not come into pass? How do you envision your co-op system, market socialist system working that avoids this obstacle? Go.
Well, I don't really see where the well, you have the investment, right? And then people are continuously earning the money as they go along. I don't see where this other money is really
What
coming
happens
into
when
it.
someone wants to quit?
I mean, they quit. I mean, they. What do you mean? They stop like working there. They get their final paycheck, and then the revenue
The
that they.
investment that they have is just lost. So a person put in $1,000 to the company to buy the share. It's just lost. They just forfeit it in your world.
I don't know. I haven't thought about how like investments work, but most jobs don't function by like you founding a company, right? Like that's a pretty specific situation, which isn't really
It's a
applicable to
co-op
most.
situation, is it not? Yes, most
Well,
companies don't work like that currently, but in a co-op situation, that's part of the deal, is it not? Am I misunderstanding? It's very possible I am. But as I understood, like the workers get together, they own the means of production, which means that they also invest into the means of productions as well. Am I mistaken on that? I could be. I'm not an expert.
I think that depends. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it depends on the model and the approach. I mean, I don't know for sure though. I can't say.
So
It depends.
so for me, I mean, like I said, I've worked a whole bunch of different jobs, right? I have founded my own business, and to do so, it does take money, right? You have to buy all the equipment and buy your tools. If you need an office space, you got to buy an office. Like if you like, there's a whole bunch of expenses that go into creating a business. Once you've created the
Mhm.
business, it might go up or down in value based on its productive output. But 5 years down the road, if you want to sell that business to somebody else, they have to now pay for what the business is worth, right? So if everyone co-owns businesses, that means that everyone has to be paying in and paying out their liquidity of the business.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it just seems like if I want to go get a grocery store job right now, I can go down to the grocery store, drop in my resume, I get hired, I get a paycheck. Now I don't get my surplus value in a Marxian sense, but I get an easy job and I can quit whenever I want, right? However, if the grocery store were a worker co-op, now I have to go down to the grocery store and be like, okay, well, we're hiring a new person, so that means you have to have some sort of co-ownership, which means you have to buy some sort of like stock in the company because stock is ownership, right? So now I have to work it and own it at the same time. I have to not only get a job, but also have
Strongly
the
doubt.
money, but also have to have the money to buy the share in the company so I can actually work it.
Mhm.
And then when I want to quit, I have to find somebody else to buy my share and take my share off my hands. Because otherwise, I'll be an owner but not a worker. If I quit but I still own the stock in the company, I'll be an owner but not a worker. So once you link these two concepts together, like ownership and working, you have a lot of problems with investment that just don't seem to work in reality.
But like that's not necessarily true though. You're not buying into like co-ops. That's not how it works. There are plenty of worker co-ops with like a bunch of employees and workers, and you aren't having people like have to pay to fund the company every time. That's maybe something you have like at the start of it because you need to, help like collectively actually get the shit you need to start a company. But to act like every time somebody joins a co-op, they have to pay a massive fee of investment, that's just not accurate, and that's not how things work.
Well, if that's the case, if let's say your ideal society is one in which you have worker co-ops that exist and you can join them and then quit them, and there's no actual buying and selling of stock in the company involved. If that's the case, why would anyone ever found a business? Because if they can't even sell the business that they've invested in, why would they ever do it? Why would I ever put $100,000 to found a new business if I know that once I hire a bunch of people to join it, I lose my $100,000? Why would I ever do that?
You wouldn't be losing your $100,000. You'd still be making a solid amount of money if you had a good business. You just wouldn't be making like massive excesses compared to other people. Are you
No, that's
saying like if
here.
you
Let me put this
quit?
here. Let me put it this way. I want to found a business, and I want my business to be the construction of skateboards. Okay,
Mhm.
so I spend $1 million to get a skateboard factory, and I'm like, okay, here's my business. It's my $1 million that I've worked hard for to save up my entire life, and I buy my skateboard factory or I build it or whatever, right? And then I'm like, I need people to like work on this with me, so I hire like 10 other workers. Okay, and now it's a worker co-op
Mhm.
situation, so they're coming in and they're not paying me for like I've invested in this thing, but they get to
Well,
co-own it
one
with me.
person wouldn't just have $1 million to invest in a factory under socialism. That would be pretty fucked economically, right?
Well, we're talking about
So how are you
market
gonna have?
socialism now. We're not talking about like some sort of future hypothetical. This is something that's more in line of what we can do in the next 50 years. There will definitely be people
Mhm.
with $1 million in 50 years for sure. So here,
No, we should be limiting incomes, though. I do believe that
Can you
there
explain
okay.
should
that?
be
Hold
a
on, I'm very curious, Max.
heavier
What do you
income
mean by
tax.
limiting income? Why won't there be millionaires in 50 years under your system if things go your
Uh,
way?
Ideally, we gradually start cutting away at how high up the 1% is. I don't think they should exist like that. I think it's very strange and fucked up. And I mean, capitalism wasn't even like this like 40 years ago, Like it's gotten really bad. It's terrible at the moment.
Well, there's an explanation for that, but it is getting off of this topic of investment.
Which
I don't
one do
mind.
you mean? Well,
Oh,
like
for why
corporate
the- why
raiders
the-
and
why
stuff,
the
or
one
what?
percent has why the 1% has way more wealth than they used to. It
Oh,
makes sense if you look at the math. Actually makes a lot of sense.
what are you referring to exactly? Like what? Like
Uh,
expansion of?
of the 1%, yes, of their wealth. It actually makes sense if
Mhm.
you look at the math behind it.
What
So
math specifically?
okay, so
What, just like the exponential increase of capital that if you have more money, you
yes,
can invest more and get more? Yeah, I mean,
it's
obviously,
not
that's
just
like the
that, but
flaw, right? That's the issue.
that's part of it, but it's not all of it.
Wait, hold on, Dev.
It's
Do you not think
oh,
that
go on.
the expanding income gap is an issue? Right, the wealth gap is actually a
Um,
problem.
I do think that it can be an issue, but I don't think it's the main issue. I think it's a symptom of something else. I don't think solving the wealth gap will actually fix anything long term. I think it is a symptom of a deeper problem,
What do you think is a
and
symptom of?
I don't know yet. I'm still figuring that out. But the more that I've
Why did
looked
you stop
into,
being a socialist? Were you just confused? What are you talking
nope,
about?
I kept reading.
What did you read?
Uh,
Was it Mein
well,
Kampf? I saw that in your book.
you saw that copy of it. Man, everyone's so mad about it. It was like, listen, when you buy a copy of Mein Kampf, the proceeds go to a Jewish
Look,
charity.
if I weren't in Germany, I would probably have a copy of Mein Kampf as well.
Yeah, it's
It's, I
illegal
don't
over
know.
there, isn't
It
it?
is interesting. I don't know. I think
Are
figuring
you?
out like
I
these
guess that
terrible, insane people is kind of cool.
I'm desperate to bring this back a little on free speech for a moment. Like, do you think it's
Okay.
okay that the German government will tell you what books you can and cannot buy? Do you think that's okay? Right.
What I mean,
That's bad
it's
in my
like
opinion.
that's bad. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like one book, and the book sucks. I don't really care that much. It's more like the effect the book has on the comfort of like a lot of citizens. That's more like the deal. Um, like the
So because
existence of
someone comes into
something.
my house and I have Mein Kampf on the shelf and it makes them uncomfortable, I should not be able to have Mein Kampf on my shelf.
Oh, well, no, but nobody's going to be arresting you for having something like in your house, you know? It's like if you like take it out and you're being like everyone, wow, this book is really good, then like, you know, maybe you'll get a
I don't know the
reaction. But
German laws, so maybe.
I mean, these are laws that exist, but they're very honorary, you know? Like most of the time they won't be like followed through on. I've seen Nazi
Okay.
stuff in public before without people getting arrested. Um I think maybe they should crack down on it more sometimes with certain people.
No, no,
No, you don't think the Nazi fucking protesters who are shouting that like Jews need to be killed should get arrested or something?
no.
Doesn't that go a little close to the sun even for you?
Unless there's actually an actionable threat, no.
Oh my god, you're so cucked. What the fuck? What do you
Free
what do
speech,
you
dude.
free speech?
Yes. Listen. Here. What do you think my political alignment is?
Your political alignment is like centrist, but you're very permissive of people. But generally you're like a very very overzealous lib who's tolerant of a bit too much, in my opinion.
Listen. I am what is known as a
Hmm?
liberal supremacist. All right. We are the best
Okay,
ideology,
I knew you were
and
a
we
supremacist.
and we will conquer the world eventually.
Mm, okay, terrifying,
But no,
terrifying.
free speech. Yes. All right. Free expression, free association. Yes. All of these things.
Hmm,
Can I maybe Max?
what's up?
What is, in your opinion, the biggest danger for allowing people to, for Nazis to march in the street, or something
The
extreme as that?
biggest
What's the
danger?
biggest danger? What do you think
The
would
main
be the
issue
main
for me
threat?
there, aside from like the potential like hate crimes or whatever, the main
Yeah,
issue for me would
what
be
I'm
like,
trying to do with this question is give you a platform to expound upon why you think this is wrong and bad, and the government should stop it. Go ahead.
right. I think mainly because of the people's comfort. I think that people, especially people who are in oppressed groups, like minority groups, who are much more likely to be threatened by these sorts of people, have a right to comfort. They have a right to not feel like they're going to be murdered in the streets for looking different. And allowing Nazis to go out and to walk around openly touting how much they believe that you should be dead, I think is absolutely impeding on somebody's freedom to comfort and existence and
Sure.
to
So if
their
I'm a TERF,
identity.
yeah, if I'm a TERF and there is an LGBTQ parade in my town where they're saying, I hate TERFs, punch the TERF, TERFs are scum, TERFs are all these things, I'm going to feel super uncomfortable with that. Should I have the
Mhm.
ability to shut down that parade because I feel uncomfortable, I feel a threat, I think that they are threatening me, and I don't want them here. Should I be able to
I
stop
think
them?
that's different.
Why?
I think first of all, it depends if they are actually actively being like, we're going to go house to house and beat up every turf and
No,
kill
they're I
them and
punch
take
a
off
turf
their
in the
head.
face. They just have like punch turfs. I've seen signs like this all the time, like punch turfs, turf scum, turfs can suck my
If it's just
12-inch
a
dick,
if
etc.
it's just a slogan like that, I don't think that like necessarily constitutes an actual threat. Also, the main difference for me there is if it's an immutable characteristic or not. I think it's a lot worse if somebody's going after somebody for something they can't change, like sucking dick, as you said, or being black or brown or whatever the
Well,
fuck.
actually, I
Therefore,
have
we
a
need to
question
protect
now.
those people a lot more.
I have
Go
a
on.
question now. Do you think that being a turf is not an immutable characteristic?
No, of course it's not an immutable characteristic.
Explain why.
Because why would that be immutable? Why wouldn't that be able to change? I
Are you
might
religious?
from
Hold on. Are you religious? Are you an atheist or like are you a Christian or?
I'm an atheist, yeah.
So am I. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. If you can change your beliefs, become a Christian right now.
That's not the thing though, right? I mean,
Sure it is.
turfism
Sure it
is
is.
broadly based in misinformation. Like 90% of the time, if you
Okay. Okay.
ask a
Here.
turf about trans people and what they're up to, they will not tell you like actual
Oh, I know.
verifiable
I know
facts
turfs.
most
I
of the
know.
time.
I know. I know
Right.
turfs
You know
personally. I
that
know.
there a lot of them are
So
like mentally ill, scared women who are like exaggerating, who've taken this one issue, they've seen that other people got scared over it, and now they're joining in. They're being evil and
okay.
angry over it because they don't know
Let
what to
me put
do.
it this way then. Let me put it this way. So you're obviously not a turf then.
I'm not a TERF. No,
No.
I'm
Okay.
lots of trans
If
people who like me.
if being a TERF is a choice, then become a TERF right now for 5 minutes. Truly believe in everything that's a part of their ideology, and then turn back.
Again, you're asking. This isn't like a comparable situation, you know?
Well, can you do it though?
Can I do it?
Yeah.
What can I become?
Can you choose your beliefs?
Uh, I mean, I think you. It depends. It depends.
Okay.
You can choose how educated you are on them. You can choose
Sure.
how you choose to approach them and how much trust you give your beliefs.
Mhm.
I make
mean,
an effort to
Wait,
be
Dev, hold on,
questioning.
Dev.
yeah.
Which do you think is easier, to become no longer a TERF or to become no longer black?
Well, ask Michael Jackson. He figured it out before he died, right? But well, no, I understand the point, Wick.
For like
Absolutely.
30
But
years.
but the issue ultimately is that we don't choose our beliefs. Now, our beliefs can change over time. By the way, that's why I have a stack of books, and I have read most of them, for fuck's sake. Everyone was going on about that on Twitter. But like the idea is that you can change your beliefs over time with a lot of introspection and a lot of study. You cannot change your beliefs in, say, 5 minutes. You can't. You hold
Mhm.
your beliefs, and you hold them
Sure.
tightly. Most people do. So this idea, like when you say what you're appealing
I'm
to,
not
when you say
against people having beliefs, though.
no,
I'm
I'm not saying
against
you are. I'm
them
not saying you
expressing
are.
beliefs that are harming. Okay,
Okay,
go on.
I'm not saying you are. You're saying that it should be things that are immutable conditions should be protected. Now, the reason why they should be is because they can't be changed. That's the main reason, right? Because,
Mhm.
like for example, there are some immutable conditions you might what's a good example? Typhoid Mary is a good example. All right, it was an immutable
Mhm.
condition of her biology that she was spreading typhoid fever around, and she was
Mhm.
oppressed by the state for it because it was like necessary to do, right? So
Okay.
the idea it isn't the immutable condition itself, because we have instances where we have oppressed people for their immutable conditions. The point is that they're not hurting anyone and they can't be changed. That's it. Now, when it comes to beliefs, they can't be changed, not right away anyway, and unless they're committing violence, they actually are not hurting anyone.
Okay. I mean, I think that's like, you know, pretty clearly wrong. you know, even if
How?
they're not committing violence themselves, they can be, first of all, enabling violence. When we look at like the process for somebody to become radicalized, um, the first step, I mean, after political and personal grievances, this is the model of radicalization to
Mhm.
terrorism among lone wolves in the US. By the way, this is from a study. And then after the first step of having grievances, the next one is like finding online sympathizers or an extremist group with which you identify yourself. And then they take advantage of the people who are like, they're desperate, looking for identity. They're like sad and that kind of thing. So if you have these people going out who are like loudly touting these angry, hateful ideas, it does tend to. I think it has a capacity to draw in these people who then might actually act violently, even if these initial people aren't. I think promoting that kind of speech where you're talking about people like they're inhuman, like they're planning to take over the world, like they're planning to kill you. I think that is somebody who's actively aiding violence, even if they might not be actively saying like, "Hey, I'm going to whack someone," or did just
To
whack
that
someone.
point,
You get me?
and Dev, if I may, um, you would have to acknowledge that allowing people to express these beliefs and things does increase the risk that people are going to adopt these beliefs and then follow through on these beliefs. Do you not agree with that? Like, you can see there is kind of a through line here, right? Where it's like a funnel. You'll have a lot of people who believe it. You'll have less people who act upon it, but again, there will be some, and there will be even less who act violently upon it, etc. Right? We can imagine that there is a risk to allowing these beliefs to be spread. Is there not?
I mean, like that's why speech has to be protected, right? Is because it is actually important and it is actually powerful because it changes people's minds. The only issue ultimately is what you said earlier, Wick, is like you mentioned all of these things that radicalization does to people as they go down the radicalization pipeline, and they eventually become violent if it goes that far. But we can apply this to the turf who feels scared at the LGBT rally, right? We can apply this to the Antifa member who's throwing bricks through windows. We can apply this to a whole bunch of different groups who have all become
Mhm.
radicalized through speech and then committed violence, right?
Okay. I mean, I would say if these people are also putting other people in danger the same way that those people are, and they are going to end up harming people, then yeah, treat them the same. Given
So
if
you're
they
okay
are
with
actually
arresting
putting
the
people in
rioters in
danger.
BLM, to be clear?
I mean, if they're like, I mean, I think
The
that
looters,
also
the ones
depends.
who stole all those
My
stuff at the
my
iPhone store recently, right?
ethical my ethical rule in regards to riots is that they should be trying to target buildings and property belonging to the people they're rioting against. I think it's like kind of retarded and useless to burn down like a Denny's trying to get civil like more rights and protections or something. I think
You mean
it does
January
make more
6th?
sense to.
So you mean January 6th? Because
I
they were
mean,
rioting against the power structure that they thought was harming them. Like,
right.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, January 6th is a great example also of why you need to prevent this kind of speech, because then you have a bunch of people like insane Jan 6ers who've been listening to like QAnon for ages, and they're like, oh, this is it. This is the storm. It's finally happening. Time to go and do a crime that'll put me in prison for 2 years, you know? Like,
No, I know. Listen, I'm not on the side of the January 6th people, all right?
I
That was
know, and
too
that's why I'm
retarded.
like confused
But
about
like,
how lenient you are, because I think you're not that stupid. At least I
because they were
don't believe you're
violent.
that
That's the
stupid.
that's the difference. They were violent.
But I mean, you could say that they were, according to your logic, they could have like done everything. They could have gone, they could have gone like right up to the fucking door, and as long as they didn't whack anybody, and they were all there and just shouting like vaguely angry things, and they weren't
Sure.
making any like clear direct threats, that would be fine to you.
Yes.
Would that
That
not be fine to
seems.
you? Karl Marx, would you be okay with them again? They didn't do any violence, they didn't break any property, they didn't break any laws. All they're doing is being angry and disagreeable. You would arrest them for that?
I wouldn't arrest them for that. I would want it to not exist in the first place, though, because the whole reason a bunch of them were there was
Also,
like
thank
as
you,
a
Sanjol, for
consequence
the
of
raid. Anyway,
misinformation.
appreciate you. Okay.
What?
Can you repeat that? I just got raided. Sorry, my bad.
Console
Yeah,
rated.
Sanjol
Yeah.
raided. Repeat that for me, please.
Oh. Wait, shit, what was I saying?
January
Um,
6th rioters, they're based. That's what you're saying?
don't fucking tell me that, you fucker. Wait, god damn it. God damn it. Wait,
Apologies.
do you
Okay, so
remember?
yes, I asked
You
you.
fucker.
You would be okay with, and again, I apologize for that. My bad.
It's
But
okay, I forgive you.
yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, if the January 6 rioters hadn't broke anything, hadn't beaten up anyone, hadn't broken any laws, and were simply in front of the White House protesting, being angry and disagreeable, you'd be okay with arresting them, is what I asked you, and then you were answering
I
me.
think that the goal of the law should be to prevent bad shit from happening again. I think if these people, if arresting these people would help them be fucking safer and not do more stupid shit, because they were like about to, I think that would be okay. But generally, you should try and enact rehabilitative measures and preventative measures in the first place, so it doesn't even like come to happen.
So you would
You
be
know.
okay with arresting them only in the sense that it would prevent future people from protesting against the government in that way.
It depends. It depends again. I mean, I think punishment will vary from person to person and also with like, case by case, depending on how like intensely someone's going at it. If someone was standing outside chanting "Kill Mike Pence," which, many of them were, then, maybe they should be carrying a higher sentence for doing that and like carrying a firearm than somebody who was just like walking around with a flag on, like that little old lady. Do you know the picture of that little old lady at the Capitol? She looks kind of cute and silly. Like her.
I do
She
recall,
probably
yes, yeah.
wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
She
she
was just wandering
probably
around,
wouldn't
yeah.
need. She would
Yeah.
probably be fine, and like she
Because she's
probably
a
wouldn't
weak
do it
woman
again
who
after like
can't do anything.
4 days in prison. You know?
Yeah, sure.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't think that you would be willing to extend this kind of charitability if it were a similar riot from the other side. If it were a bunch of let's say proletarian revolutionaries who were coming to overthrow capitalism.
I think I would be probably equally critical. I mean, it really
Think so?
depends. My main criticism when it comes to like revolutionary behavior kind of thing is that, again, I'm democratic. Most people do not want that. I
Mhm.
don't want to put the populace through something that they don't want to be put through. And radical factions from either the right or the quote left, pretending to be authoritarian almost like fucking
Okay.
almost fascistic, and then saying you're left, but whatever.
The
But like, I
authoritarian
think,
left is still on the left. Don't cope about that. They're still leftists.
look, you believe what you want to believe, okay?
Hey,
But
hey,
no.
we want to go down a rabbit hole. There's such a thing as left fascists. If you want to go deep into theory, you got to read, man.
Oh, I don't know if I want to
Look.
go into that deep into theory.
Yeah.
I guess. Look, at the end of the day, I'm really curious. Because full disclosure, I'm pretty absolute in my free speech, not 100%, but I am a very big advocate simply because the mechanisms that we create in order to stop the people who we think are the bad speakers are invariably going to be used against groups and peoples that we think speech should be protected. So we have to keep that
That's
shield
not true.
strong, even though bad actors sometimes hide behind them, and I will acknowledge they are bad actors and there is a risk to it. I think that there is a greater risk into weakening that shield so we can punish the bad guys. But that's just me. Anyway, so yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the black pill on free speech. All right.
Oh no.
Everyone wants to limit speech that goes against their ideas, and that's
I
just
don't
how
think
it
that's
is.
true, though.
It's
I don't think that's
absolutely
true.
true.
What I'm
You
asking
do,
for in
but you do.
terms of free speech is like pretty clear, right?
Okay, here.
Is protect
Lay it out
classes.
for me real quick. Go ahead.
Okay, protect classes of people who are more likely to be at risk of being fucking socially oppressed or potentially, genocided or something. Protect people with for their fucking immutable characteristics. Don't allow speech which is fucking repetitive and has the clear intent of dehumanization, of like purely destructive intent, basically, right? Where the point is clearly it's something like Valid Els, who you see post about trans people's suicides on like a regular basis, or talking about trans people who've like hurt themselves or something, and like posting that and being like, haha, look, I got them, or something, like their existence pretty much almost entirely boils down to dehumanizing, to attacking, to harming as much as possible this one group of people who, really can't do anything about who they are and how their brain's wired,
Mm-hmm. Well, none of this went against what I said, though, because you still want to censor speech based on your own ideas. Like you have a moral
Well,
preference.
it's about immutable characteristics, though. It's not about
that's
just
your
like,
moral preference, though. Your moral preference is to protect people with immutable characteristics. If you were someone who didn't give a shit about immutable characteristics, you wouldn't care, right? Like this
well,
is
I
like,
don't really know what this point is.
well, the point is that like if you look at so generally like a fascist government will suppress anti-fascist speech, obviously. A socialist government will generally suppress anti-socialist speech. A liberal government tends to suppress anti-liberal speech, right? A monarchist government will suppress speech against the monarchy.
I don't think you need
right?
to suppress anti-socialist speech. I think if
You
if the
absolutely do. Man, if you
if
had
the
like
majority,
okay, here, let me put it this way, man. If you had like your socialist utopia and you had like a bunch of people agitating for capitalism, the Red Guard would snap down on that shit so quickly, you have no idea. All right?
you're presupposing that every socialist government is going to be authoritarian. I don't think that's necessary. And I think that if we did have the socialism that I want and the socialism that, most socialists are advocating for, people would see pretty quickly why it's better than capitalism. I mean, I think there are people who advocate for capitalism heavily and they really want it. But those people, as capitalism is, are in the minority, right? Because capitalism serves to help the minority, like the financial minority.
So your argument is basically once people understand how awesome my ideas are, they won't want to go back. Everyone says that about their ideas, though. Like,
Yeah.
this is the thing.
I mean,
Everyone,
that's how populism or any democratic political movement is going to work, right?
Well, any
I mean,
political movement, democratic or not, but yeah, fair.
yeah, pretty much. No, the idea is that like everyone has their own moral intuitions, and those moral intuitions will inform their politics, and then they will preferably, if they could, censor speech that goes against that. All right. That's why you have like Muslim countries that will not allow you to be blasphemous, things like that. Every society defines what they consider to be intolerable and then shuts it out. It's like
I mean, I can explain with every single one why I think they're like wrong
Sure,
or
if
bad
you'd
or
allow me,
different.
though.
This argument is really just like you have opinions.
If
And
you
it's like,
allow
yeah,
me.
I have opinions. So do you.
Someone's paid me $50
Oh,
to
no.
ask you a couple questions, Max.
Oh.
Is that okay?
Oh no.
I'm gonna take the money. I'm a
Or him?
capitalist. Okay, so $50. Karl Marx. This is from Mark Twain's
boy.
Revenge. Okay, Karl Marx. So that's what they call you, not me. Some questions for
Nice.
you. 1. Which industries would you nationalize? 2. How would you nationalize them?
Ooh.
3. Would you seize property against the will of owners? 4. Would you fairly compensate owners?
Holy
5.
shit, dude! What
Would
the
you
fuck?
use
Oh my god.
violence?
Okay, you can pick one. I'll answer one of those.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
well,
go through every 5 questions.
sorry, they paid me $50. I'm gonna do what they say. Sure.
Do
Well,
two.
let's just choose. Would you seize property against the will of owners in order, if it could move you closer to your co-op market socialist utopia? Would you seize property against the will of the rich, like billionaire stuff who owned 1,000 homes, weren't using them? Would you by force take that away from them?
I mean, if it was like fucking democratically, like a democratically
Yes.
agreed upon development,
80% of
then
people
yes.
said, yeah, take the billionaire stuff. You would be okay with that? You would do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
mean, like, obviously give them enough to fucking survive and be like, exist as people comfortably, but obviously a billionaire probably doesn't need most of their stuff.
Sure. What about a millionaire?
Millionaire?
Yeah, a millionaire has 5 homes. Would you take 4 of them?
A millionaire that has 5 homes, would I take 4 of
80%
them?
of people want you to take 4 of the millionaire's 5 homes. Would you do it?
Probably. I mean, I think if it depends. Again, I think you could make an argument for some people having 2 homes, but it depends on like the distribution, how many homes
But
are
3's
available,
just
if that
right
were
out,
possible for more
right?
people.
2's good, 3's right out.
Listen, Max.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think again, it depends on their use. If there's somebody who like lives and works between 2 different places, obviously they're going to need one more
I
space to live in.
understand. We're assuming in this question that they don't need it for anything. They just like it. They're just like, I don't want them.
Oh, if they don't need it for anything and they're like not like using it regularly as well, then I mean, sure, take it away from them. They don't need it.
Listen, it is the chat's democratic will that you answer all 5 questions.
Oh my fucking god. Okay.
They are kind of mad at you right now.
No, here.
They're mad. I feel like your chat's always going to be mad at me. We're a bit ideologically opposed.
Here, let me put it this way. Right? Like when it comes to what speech you censor, or I guess what you don't allow in your society. It is just having opinions, but it's more than just having opinions, right? Like what makes it legitimate that you take the 5 homes? Well, for you, from your point of view, I assume that it's because like you see like ownership as being a function of use. If you don't use them, they can be somebody else's, right? I see them as being a function of, did you build them or did you buy them, right? Property ownership. So we have different moral foundations that bring us into these two different things. But like, which one is more or which one's better, really? I mean, well, that comes down to, well, okay, are there better outcomes? I mean, maybe, but also what decides if there's better outcomes? That still comes down to our moral foundations. So this is like,
well, I mean,
it's one of those.
I don't know.
Go ahead. Go on. What are you gonna say?
I think you're talking about like, I don't know. I think you can approach things from a utilitarian, like humanitarian framework pretty easily. I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to figure out how to try and maximize the happiness of the most people possible.
If
I feel like that should be the goal of any
80%
political
of the
system.
population was happier if trans people didn't exist, would that be okay to you? They'd be happier. We're doing our utilitarian calculus, and I can make 80% of the population happier, right? By eliminating a certain group that I don't like, right?
That precedent would be a bad one to set. We do not want society to be getting rid of minorities. Therefore, no.
So you can understand the argument that it perhaps would be a bad precedent to set, even if 80% of the people don't like what a certain group is saying, to prevent that 80% of that people from being able to shut down the speech of the minority group in beliefs, right? I'm not talking immutable characteristic, but I'm a minority group of beliefs. You can understand why that might set a bad precedent, right?
I mean, I think it depends, again, as I said.
To be fair, I say it depends a lot too, because a lot of these issues are complicated. But
that's my answer to everything. Yeah, I mean, as you should be, though. As you should be.
The issue ultimately is that if you're just doing a purely utilitarian calculus for your morality, in my opinion, I've never met anybody who was utilitarian who wasn't just coping. No offense. It's just because we know where morality comes from psychologically, and it's intuition, and the calculus comes second, right? We have certain feelings, and then we calculate how
Mhm.
we feel about them later. Like it's like I mean, you know, like Jonathan Haidt, you know his research, you know the deal.
I do not. Enlighten me.
Okay. He wrote a book called the Righteous Mind. He's done a whole bunch of studies in the psychology of morality. He outlined
Mhm.
basically 6 axes on which you can measure people's morality. He found
Mhm.
he found that like certain political alignments, they map very heavily onto certain feelings about what certain things are moral and what aren't.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
like here, just give me a second. All right, here.
Yeah, yeah. Feel free. Pull it up. Send it to me
Okay. I'll
if you're
give you
doing that.
He
I'll
wrote
give you
The
the
Coddling of American Mind too. It's a very good book.
he did. It's a very good book. Here, I'll give you the
The
Wikipedia article.
American Mind.
The
Yep, it's about
Coddling
the
of the
education
American Mind.
system and how it's
Oh.
coddling the young by not challenging their
Oh.
beliefs, etc.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, no,
so
I've noticed that Americans seem like kind of stupid sometimes. Unfortunately, I feel bad for
so here,
them.
so here we go. Moral foundations theory
Sorry.
explains the origin. I'm not American. I don't care.
Oh,
Explains the
phew.
origin. Wait, are you American, Wick?
I am. I care, but
Uh,
he's not exactly wrong.
Cucked.
I
Imagine.
can't care
okay.
that much. Look, Canadian,
Yeah.
German, British, not American. You're all eventually going to be American when the imperial hegemony really kicks in. So I mean,
I
you're
wouldn't
not
mind to be
Fair
American
play.
honest.
yet, Dev.
Canada's
You're
pretty
not
cooked. I
American
wouldn't mind.
yet.
So yeah, moral foundations theory explains the origins of and variation in human moral reasoning. And so
Mhm.
basically, the 6 axes there: care, harm, fairness, cheating, loyalty, betrayal, authority, subversion, sanctity, degradation, liberty, oppression. So those
Right.
basically, we have certain emotions based on these 6 measurements, and
Mhm.
that is where we get our morality from. And all of
Okay.
the like consequentialist calculation, utilitarian, that's all just like post hoc rationalization.
Right. Isn't that how a lot of morality should function, though? That you post hoc figure out what's actually legit and what isn't? Because if not, then you're just listening to your every instinct, which is probably a bad idea, because then you're at like the whim of your biases.
I don't know, man. Vosh called this fascist once, so I feel like I'm a fascist now.
Wait, he called what fascist?
He said using like moral intuition was fascist. It was like an offhand
I
comment
think
on a random
I think
stream.
I think I heard him say moral objectivism is fascist, which I
Well,
could agree with,
basically, the
maybe.
idea is like lots of like very left leaning people, very progressive people. Their
Mhm.
like their personality type or their predilections lead them to like heavily focused on care harm, right? Lots of
Mhm.
lots of conservatives, they heavily focus on like loyalty betrayal. Lots of
Mhm.
fascists focus on authority and subversion. Libertarians,
Naturally.
liberty and oppression, right? So there's like political groups that kind of gravitate around these 6 moral senses. They operate almost like senses, you know.
Mhm.
And so basically, when you say it is more moral that we steal the 5 houses and give them to people who need them, you're operating on moral intuitions that not everyone might share. So if you come to me and say you think differently, you're immoral. Well, what's actually happening is that we just have different psychology.
This is a measurable thing, though, right? You can say each person like needs a space to live and needs shelter. Like I don't.
Well, yeah, but
It's
like
like a
it depends if you value giving them that shelter more than you value other things, right? Because maybe you have the personality type where you actually value keeping intact some very strict regulations on property rights, and you don't just want to go
Mhm.
around seizing everyone's stuff and giving them to people who need it more. Because
Perhaps an oversimplified, but maybe more easy to understand values, the dichotomy between safety and freedom, right? We'd all give up some safety or for more freedom, but where we draw that line will differ depending on how much we value safety versus how much we value freedom. Um,
Mhm. And that will probably also come into why we have different views on free speech, right? You want people like especially people who are, let's say, more marginalized to feel more safe as they move through the public space. I want people to be more free to say certain things, and we're just going to have different like moral foundations on that.
My main. I mean, I want marginalized to be okay. One of my main issues with like far right bullshit online and like radical bullshit is like the kind of the culty predatory aspect of it and how it like kind of goes after what feels to be like the some people who are pretty left behind by society, which tends to be the case with like most like terrorists or whatever, most radicals, is that it's people who like suffered in some way, they felt they had like no value, and then they went and they were basically like indoctrinated by like these groups of people who, you know, like
I mean, I don't
treat
disagree.
them. Mhm.
I don't disagree. I think you're onto something there, but I see that happening on the left as well all the time. I mean, you're a
Right, but
Vosh
that's
fan.
not going to lead to.
Sure. Oh, it
Mhm.
absolutely will. You're a Vosh fan. I don't know how much of him you've watched, but there's been so many streams of his where he's like led people right up to the edge of violence. I'm like, listen, the far
Oh
right's coming
yeah,
for you.
can
You
you?
got to arm up. You got to fucking, and it's just like, geez, calm the fuck down, dude.
I mean, he says he does have that thing about trans people arming themselves. I don't know how much I believe in that. I'm generally not very like pro gun. Like all the statistics I see as well suggest that if it's like somebody who's like got mental health issues, you should not be telling them to get a gun. Seems like a terrible idea,
Wait, are you
right?
saying trans people have mental health issues?
Yeah, I'm saying people who are oppressed by society are going to be more likely to be not doing so great.
Fair enough.
Well, hold on. It's not just that. I mean, here, hold on. Is gender dysphoria a mental illness?
Oh, Jesus.
The answer is
I would say
yes,
it's
by
a
the way.
symptom.
A symptom. What is it a symptom
A
of?
symptom of your existence. I mean, I guess you could say, I don't know. I don't want to classify it as an illness. I would say it's more of a situation, a state you're in.
Okay, well, is it a negative state?
Well, let's
Well,
not go too
yeah,
far
it's
to down the trans
uncomfortable. It's
rabbit hole, gang. I'm
unpleasant.
gonna throw a flag on the play. Okay, I don't wanna.
Oh,
I know
what
we
are we
aren't
sticking
prepared
to?
for that discussion and this discussion. If we wanted to have it, I would like everyone to be a little more prepared, including me.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Well,
I made
I mean,
I'm not.
I okay.
Okay.
This is not for you.
okay.
I'm not.
Another
So
day.
I'm more
Another
than
day.
willing to have that conversation, but I'm calling a flag on this play. We're gonna steer clear of that for the time being. I'm not against having that conversation. I'm against having that conversation this second. I
Okay.
did want to ask both
Is that
of you.
related to anything for trans stuff, like at all, or just
No,
a
trans
blanket
stuff is fine, but
moratorium? Or...
trans stuff being in mental illness specifically, I think.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You good? You good?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Fine by me.
Okay. I don't know how much because we're kind of like circling a little bit on some things. Would you both be okay with me opening this up to bring callers on? If would that be okay?
I'm
To
down.
maybe ask both of you
Or
some
unless
questions.
SFO, is there anything else you want to talk through?
Unless
I
you
mean,
have a,
that's we can do that, but I mean, there's a few topics that we kind of skip, like we missed in the previous.
if you feel like you want to dig into more, by all means. I just
Yeah.
don't want to like.
There's a few we missed. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean,
please.
we were talking like we were talking about market socialism earlier, and there was like definitely something I wanted to get into that we didn't get into, if that's all right.
Mhm.
And also you asked me why I stopped being a Marxist. I can tell you that story too, if you like.
Oh, I would love to hear, please.
So yeah, I mean, there's the problem that we went over of the like buying and selling firms, right? And you don't think that's a problem? I think it's a major problem because that's just what founding a business is.
That's a
and
very
I-
specific problem that I've not had like the opportunity to look into. Now that you've
Sure,
brought it up to me, it is something that I will research, and I'll probably be able to give you a good answer next time. But right now, I'm just not prepared for it. There are like a
I
million.
understand.
I think with every economic system, you could probably find some stipulation where it would eat shit with if like the current rules were maintained there. So yeah, no. I don't think that's like a super defeating point, but I can't really give you a good retort there.
So I guess another thing is if you have, let's say you have profit sharing, right? Because now
Mhm.
there's no more capitalist extracting surplus value. They're not scraping it off the top of the workers. Everything is going to the workers, right? So everyone. So I assume that profit sharing must
Well, not
also mean
everything-
profit loss.
Oh, what you mean, like sharing like lower revenue if you make less money in a month or something?
Yeah. Or if your business
mean,
goes bankrupt,
sure.
everyone has to pay it back, right? Like now, if you owe
I mean-
creditors, like your business is fucked. Now every worker has to pay back something because you've gone bankrupt, right? Like if the business has loans, you have to pay back. Like
I think that would depend again on how it's structured in terms of how
Okay.
much money people can have, how much they can invest, and that kind of thing. It would
okay,
be
sure. How does business expansion work?
business expansion.
Yeah.
How do you mean? How does it work? In
So let's
what
say you
sense?
have your 10 workers and they all co-own a business, and let's say they all do the same amount of work, 10%, and
Mhm.
the business is booming. and you have more business you can shake a stick at, and it's time to expand the business. You're gonna like build a second location. You're gonna build a second store for your business. Okay,
Mhm.
how do you raise the capital to build that second store?
How do you raise the capital? Well, you make money. I mean,
Well,
I
sure, but
guess. And
all the money is going to the 10 workers personally. In a traditional
oh, well, that
capitalist
would be
firm,
a. I mean, that would be
there'd
a
be
terrible like organization of it, right? You wouldn't have all the money being distributed equally among the workers. You would have like an equitable wage, a wage that's like actually appropriate and feasible for them. But then you'd have a larger, a larger probably sum of money which goes into the company and which you're meant to
Hmm.
reuse. I would have it
okay.
so that after that they raise fucking corporate tax. So if they do hold on to their money for ages, that they do get tax on it, but that they're then encouraged to spend it before that happens,
Right.
so they can continue to
So
contribute to the economy.
so the business itself will have its own fund and then be like keep some of its money, and then the rest of it will go to the workers basically.
No, I mean, yeah, that's how
Yeah, that's how it
businesses
works
work,
now.
right?
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that called surplus value now? Like the business keeps the excess profit for itself. That's what
Well,
happens
no,
now.
because that's it's going back into the workers' pockets. The way it is right now that people are complaining about most, apart from the like uneven pay hierarchies, it is people don't like the fact that like 20% or like 30% of a company's profits like go to the CEO or something. You know?
Okay.
Well, how would this work in
There's reasons for that, but
if I yeah, if
uh,
I may, how would this work your democratic system, right? Where if 80% of the workers, right, you run a production facility and there's different jobs in production, and say 80% of your producers make widgets and 20% of your producers make wadgets. I don't know, I'm making shit up here. And those
Sure.
80% vote that the widget guys should make more money and the wadget guys should make less money. What protections would you have in place to prevent things like that from
Hmm. I mean, I think it would.
because that would absolutely happen. You understand that, right? Like that would absolutely be the case
yeah,
that people would
this
do
this is
that.
actually my next objection is that basically one of the goals of socialism is to abolish class. It's to basically end class conflict by abolishing the classes themselves. And
Mhm.
the issue ultimately is that in market socialism, you don't the class interests don't become aligned because now you have different classes based on jobs and
Mhm.
jobs in the workplace. Like if you ever worked at like
Well,
um you know
the goal is to reduce class disparity as much as possible until it's gone, right? Um, I think maybe it could come to the fact to the point where you do have a degree of pay disparity, but it would not be to the point that it would be creating like totally other classes, right? It would be like the difference between somebody who's making like 70 or 70 grand a year and is working like I don't know 30 hours a week, and someone who's working 40 hours a week and is making like 80 grand a year, and then
well
like that's as far as it gets, or like 85 maybe at most.
Well, I mean, in a Marxist sense, the like what a class means is determined by the relationship to the means of production. And you have the workers and
Mhm.
owners, right? But if you get rid if you get rid of owners, you still have different types of workers with different relationships to the means of production.
Mhm.
You know, the example that I could give you is like, let's say if you ever worked in a restaurant before, right? Front of house workers and back of house workers, they have very different jobs and very different interests on the job. And you could see like a worker
Well,
co-op
yeah, I mean,
restaurant where you have these two
mhm.
groups of people who have different interests. They end up fighting each other using their democracy because like you're now okay. Well, are there more waitresses or are there more like cooks? And it's like, well, what are they going to vote on? And like, they're
Well,
are,
people should
are the
be,
cooks going to like put the food like are the cooks going to
when
carry
it
the food out
comes
to like
to
a front
a
bar? Or, like
workplace
there's so
democracy,
many. Mhm.
when it comes to a workplace democracy, you should have people be making decisions over the sectors they work in. I mean, like it also depends on like the size of the thing, but
Over the
if
sectors.
you,
What do you mean by
well,
that?
by that I mean that if you shouldn't have a fucking janitor voting on what's going to happen to the like accounting person. Like if that people will like vote. They will have democratic influence to the stuff that's like relevant to them. So if there is something like,
Oh,
you know,
oh, you're a corporatist. Is that where we're going with
how am
this?
I a corporatist?
Okay, I mean, sorry, I meant like classical. I don't mean like modern. Like corporatism nowadays means like corporations rule. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Corporatism was an Italian economic theory from like the 1910s, where they basically believed that the economy should be divided up by industry, and each industry should be like self-sufficient and like and should rule itself.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
What I'm
what do you mean?
thinking, if I might try to translate here, what I think Max is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that a cook should not be able to vote on what a waiter or waitress um, does or the influence there, right? Like that they should be segmented and segregated to an extent. Is that correct, Max?
Obviously, I think there should be like company-wide votes for a lot of things, for stuff that is pertaining to everybody in the company. But if it's like something like people voting on if they want to invest money in a coffee machine for their break room, or a fucking, I don't know, something else, then it should be pertaining to those people who are working there, right? Especially if it's not something that will affect other people within the company. If it is stuff that will affect other people within the company and so on a larger scale, then yeah, they should have influence over it.
Okay, so this is like stakeholder democracy then. Like if your job is affected by the decision, you should vote on it.
Sure.
Okay. Um, I have another question about expansion though, to go back, because
Hmm.
let's say that you want to expand the business, but in most cases, like most businesses don't have the capital to expand. They can't buy new. They have to like, get out a loan, right? How would getting out a business loan work?
How would getting a business loan work? Look,
Yeah,
man.
this is a very important part of running a business is getting a loan for your expansion. Like every business does this, every single firm.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, this isn't a thing that I've got like clearly laid out yet, you know, quite at that point. Like,
Okay,
I,
okay, all
I
right, all
I
right.
I get where your question is coming from. I do think that it's something that there is probably a solution to, and I could probably figure out had I had enough time to, you know, work it out. But I don't think that you can just like.
To be fair, this was a free speech debate, and I understand. So
No,
we're not
I
And
gonna
I
get
did
into it too
ask to
much.
not have it be so focused on. I wanted it to stay focused on free speech as well, but
oh
then
sorry
apparently
about
Wick
that.
This
didn't
this is why.
tell you.
Wait,
Yeah.
no,
Nope.
but I did ask you right now during the debate. Are you guys okay with the going down rabbit holes? And you said yes, you consented to it.
Yeah, yeah, but in my prep, it wasn't very clear that we would be discussing so many topics, but that's okay.
Okay,
That's okay.
all right. Well, I mean, I have looked into market socialism quite a bit over the years.
Hmm.
I'm not convinced by the theory. I think it has too
Okay.
many just unworkable parts, personally. Knowing
Hmm.
like as I've gotten older and I've been more involved in various different types of jobs and sectors, I've just realized that it doesn't work. There's too many things that it just does more inefficiently than the current
Hmm.
system, which is why I'm fine with like
If
third
you
way
want
Democrats
efficiency,
and stuff,
okay.
but like in terms of socialists, no, I think it doesn't work.
I think if you cared about efficiency, being pro-capitalism feels cringe.
Why?
Because I feel like capitalism is kind of it's it becomes like this endless self-serving mess, right? Where you just have like the same efficiency won't necessarily go up if the company's like making money in their set, right? Like you have that God, what's that one thing that happened like 100 years ago where all the people who were making the light bulbs decided to make them a little bit more shit just so they could keep on selling them?
I know what you're
Like
talking
that
about.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
you have
Yeah, like
monopolies that can ruin it. Yeah,
planned
yeah.
obsolescence,
Well,
right?
well, see, that's why I'm not like an anarcho-capitalist or libertarian or anything like that, right? Like I am
Hmm.
for regulated capitalism. I do
Hmm.
like capitalism with like welfare systems and those sort of things in place, but you still
Hmm.
maintain private property, you still maintain the commodity form. Like there are ways to balance between these two extremes, where you have, let's say, the gross inefficiencies of monopolies on one end, and then you have the
Hmm.
stagnation of socialism on the other end. You can thread the needle there, and we've been doing it very well for a long time.
Oh. Okay. I mean, I disagree with you, but
Oh man, you've seen that meme graph posted by like Project Liberal where it's like everyone's getting richer and you have like world
Oh
hunger
god.
going down over the past 100 years, shit like that. That's
You're gonna
all
bring up
true, man.
Project Liberal to me?
Yes, we're figuring
Okay.
it out. We're doing it.
Yeah. I don't think
Liberalism is
so. I don't think that's
based.
gonna
It's
win me over.
based.
It's based?
It's
They
fucking
make like the
based.
worst, shittest memes I've ever seen. It's so sad.
Yeah, the memes are pretty bad, but like the data is there though. Like we're making the world better. It just takes time. We'll get there. I'm not worried
Look,
about it at
I
all.
mean, thing is, right? It's not like I think that you're like destroying the world or whatever. I think you have some shitty opinions, but generally, it sounds like you and I pretty much want similar development over the next, like at least over the next short terms of time. Which is why I don't really care to be like super combative or whatever if you like disagree or you can't like imagine a way to solve like one or two issues in market socialism. Because for now, doesn't really matter. You know, we've got,
Yeah,
we've got
it's
shit
not
to do.
happening.
You
It's
know,
not happening. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, I
mate,
think we'll get there. I think some kind of socialism is probably
Max.
inevitable,
Max,
I don't
just
but
think
real
we'll
so.
quick,
see.
I wanted to give some parity here. Sort of, Dev here has been asking you a lot of questions. If you have questions for him and you want to drill him
Oh
on some
yes.
of his takes, please, by all means, I want to give you that chance and opportunity.
I mean, you did
Hmm.
ask why I stopped being a Marxist and like what I was reading. Is you still
Oh
want to hear about
yeah,
that or?
yeah. Feel
Okay.
free. Come on. Let's see.
Sure.
Change my
Okay.
mind.
Well, let's see here. Give me just a second. Yes. Okay, I got it. All right. So, you know who James Burnham is?
That rings a bell.
Yeah. So
Who?
he's like he's like a conservative political theorist. He was a Trotskyist in his youth, and then
Oh
he ended up
no.
he was a Trotskyist. Yeah, he was a trot. He was a fucking trot. But
Cringe.
he um he basically adapted a lot of the things that he basically adapted a lot of the things that he learned while on the left to writing conservative political theory. And I think
That's
personally, though
interesting. That feels contradictory.
of course everything's contradictory in politics, just how it is. Um, I have basically I don't agree with everything he says. There's some problems
Hmm.
with it, but I think that his class analysis is more relevant to the modern day than Marx's is. I think basically Marx's class analysis has been superseded um,
Hmm.
because
How so? What's his?
the proletariat and the bourgeois don't really take on the same forms they did back in Marx's day. Um,
I
and
mean,
Burnham,
sure.
well, things like capitalism is very different than it was 200 years ago. Um,
Right, but also Marx's like prediction of how capitalism would go rings fairly true in a lot of ways, right?
It rings fairly false in some other ones, definitely. I think there are some
How
things he
so?
didn't predict for sure. Well, hold on, let me do this first.
Oh,
So
I mean, okay.
he wrote a book called The Managerial Revolution, and
Mhm.
he theorized of another class emerging in the post 1945 liberal consensus, and it was the managerial class. And the idea would be that where the bourgeois, they're property owners but they don't work, and then the proletariat, they're workers that don't own property. The managerial class would be basically they would be empowered by the state to control property that they don't own, and that they would basically be the movers and shakers of politics in, let's say, the post-socialist era. And he ended up
Okay.
being mostly correct. Now you have like what's his fucking name? The guy who always talks about like ESG scores. Who's that guy? He's a YouTuber.
ESG scores?
Fucking
Couldn't tell you.
uh, hold on. Is it this fucking guy? James Lindsay. You know him?
Oh, wait, what does he do again? What I've seen him be cupped somewhere. He looks like sad and I don't know.
He's like he seems to be a nice guy, and he seems to have like his heart in
Mm.
the right place. But I think
Yeah, I think he's just stupid. Like
I think
that's
he's wrong about a
like
lot
a
of
lot of
things.
people.
Um, but like
Yeah. Oh,
he
he's friends
talked
with
about
Alex Jones. That's why I know him. I think.
okay, I didn't know that. No, like he talks about like the ESG scores and Klaus
What's ES?
Schwab and the WEF, the International
Oh
Monetary
yeah.
Fund, like all this shit, right? And
Definitely not just the Jews or something, you know.
well, the thing is, like, these organizations probably do want to have more power than they do. I think the right wing
Yeah.
kind of paints them as being these boogeymen that they're not really there. But if they could be what the right wing paints them as, they would be. I think
A lot
that
of what I think I see from the right feels like misplaced anti-capitalism, right? I'm sure you've seen it as well if you're an
it's
ex-Marxist, but
the mega communism stuff, like shit like that.
or that, or like just, I mean, any like big anti-Semitic conspiracy theory basically just boils down to being like, oh no, there are these people who are really rich and they keep on controlling everything and they're bad, but it's exclusively the Jews. If they took out the Jews part, they would be right, you know? They would just be talking about
I
like
remember a
actual
man who
elites.
wanted to remove the Jews from things too. But anyway, go
No,
ahead.
look, I'm not that kind of German, okay? Look, don't do me like that.
So, I mean, these big like multi, they're not firms. What are they? They're like advocacy groups. I think like the World Economic Forum and things like this. Like these groups, they're the right wing's big boogeyman right now.
Mhm.
I think the right is more incorrect than correct about them. But I do think that if there was ever going to be a true like transnational managerial class that controlled property without actually owning it, it might come out of these institutions. And so that's probably something to look out for in the next 50 years or so. And even then, if you
Okay.
look at modern like liberal governments, there's a lot of
Mhm.
bureaucratic bloat in some of them. And you do see a lot
I
of
mean,
people
yeah, definitely. I won't
you
contest
you
that.
yeah, you see a lot of people who they don't own anything, but they control a lot of other people's money and a lot of people's property through regulations. So
Mhm.
basically, Burnham took this more socialist mode of analysis, and he brought it over to a more conservative frame and said, "Hey, listen, you have big government implementing this class warfare from a different position." And so I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, that actually makes a lot more sense than anything that Marx wrote about. Like, it makes more sense in the current era that we're living in, basically. That you have like
I think it
you have
that
like
depends
government
on.
control of certain property and how that
Mhm.
intersects with capitalism. It's that makes more sense than Marx does, basically.
I mean, yeah, I think if you're gonna read something from Marx, born over like 200 years ago and stuff, obviously, you need to like historically be able to recontextualize it. You know, you can't. But I do think that a lot of it is very shockingly pretty reapplicable. So I need to get some water, so I'm just
Sure,
gonna go and
Go
do
get
that
your
and
sure.
be
water,
right
bro.
back. We can
No, I hope you're
just give me a
enjoying the
moment.
conversation. I'm enjoying the conversation. I know this has gone
Is
far
this too
away
long
from
for
free
you?
speech, but
Oh,
I'm hoping everyone's having a good time. I think it's interesting stuff. Um, yeah, there's a lot here. I am not an economics guy. I'm just not as educated on Trotsky and such as you seem to be. So I'm not as prepared for
you can talk about
modern.
Hitler next if you want, and Hitler's
Well,
economics.
why are you saying that? Why do you assume I'm more educated on Hitler? Right? What
Well,
about
My
hold on,
God,
me?
hold
we're
on.
talking
Right?
about Hitler.
That might need your permission.
No,
So
if you
okay,
want to
here.
talk about
Oh,
Hitler, go ahead. Again, as long as you
I,
don't break toss, talk about what you want. The only thing I threw a flag on was
what do you want to tell me about Hitler?
mental illness and trans
okay.
people. So
Okay. How real do you think though, like you see a lot of people on the right wing say this a lot, like like
Mhm.
the Nazis were socialist because it has socialism in the name. You hear that a lot, right? Like
Mhm.
how much truth do you put into that? I assume like none.
Not much. There was a lot of work between the German government and companies, but it was more corporatism than it was like actual like socialization of anything. Because the people who own those corps did still continue to profit and like benefit a ton, right? They were just like in bed with the Nazis. It's not like the stuff actually belonged to the people or whatever, so it's not really socialist.
No, I mean, yeah, sure. I pretty much agree with that. No, because I read a book. It's on the shelf in the picture. It's called Hitler's Beneficiaries, and it basically goes over like Nazi economics. I don't know how educated you are. I
Sounds
mean,
fun.
you are in Germany, so, but I mean, I don't know if you know
Vaguely.
about it.
I got
Yeah,
like a solid degree of
he
it.
it's maybe you know some of the stuff then. Do you know Goetz Ali? He's a German historian. Heard of him?
Go I would
Goetz
need to
Ali.
know the German
Yeah. Okay,
pronunciation.
it's Gotzally.
Oh. No, I do not know that one. Not
Okay.
familiar.
So basically his experience was that he grew up in he was born in 47, and he
Mhm.
grew up in West Germany during denazification. And he
Right.
remembers like all of his older family members, like they would always say, "Listen, we're not anti-Semites. We don't hate the Jews. The Nazis were terrible, But man, did we have more food back during the 12 years of Nazi rule than we have now. We have like nothing right now. We're starving here. But back then we were living high on the hog. We had so much food, it was great. We had so
Oh,
much material wealth, it was incredible. And he
I
asked
mean,
himself, why?
post-war.
No, during the war, even during the war, it was like they had
Well,
all that
during the
stuff,
war
right?
being, yeah, I mean, that makes sense as well, though, right?
I mean, basically, his thesis was that like there was socialistic aspects to Nazism in that
Mhm.
there was a lot of wealth redistribution. There was a lot of stuff that socialists generally like, which like on the economic side, which is like there's
Yeah.
like there was like debt relief, and there was like rent control, and there was like there's
Mhm.
tax cuts for the poor and all this shit. And but it was basically meant to keep the population in line and passive so that they could do their other evil things. Right. So it wasn't like socialism out of the goodness of their hearts. It was let's give the people a whole bunch of shit
I think that
so that they
depends
don't
as
complain.
well.
So they don't
I
complain
mean,
when we
if
go
we
to
look
war.
at like Hitler's history as a politician, though, he was in a fucking like workers' party. That is why, I mean, when they merged with the nationalist party, they did have some goal of like helping the workers to a degree. I think that almost everyone has the same thought. They all think, I want the world to be the best place it can for all people. But it just depends on what they consider to be people, what they consider to be the world, what they consider to be the best, right? For
Mhm.
the Nazis, people were like just white people, and therefore, if
Well,
you are going to like
Germans
go,
specifically, not just white. There were
yeah,
lots of whites that didn't
sorry,
mind killing. It was
I meant
Germans.
specifically like German Aryans. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, fuck yeah, I can't remember what point I was making. But yeah, no, I'm not contesting that they could have had some degree of left wing economic policy. The same way I won't contest that the USSR did too. But I will still shit on them for being shitty. you know.
Obviously,
But
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not in denial. I won't be. I will gladly accept that there is like nuance to these things and stuff.
Mhm.
You know.
You are one of the only people on the left who hasn't been, because every time I like pull out my big stack of books and I'm like, look at this fucking shit, where I can show you exactly where you have like
It is a
orthodox
bad look.
Marxists.
I
Like
don't know.
orthodox Marxists who end up coming around to being pro-Nazi if you just read and look at this. And it's like, come on, you have to understand there's some links here. Like there's some connections. It's not like
Don't say I'm pro-Nazi.
not you. We're
That
not
better
orthodox
not
Marxists.
be. Okay.
No,
No,
I'm
I
not
mean,
saying
I
that.
think like tankies though, if you get someone who's like actually is authoritarian, they will have great capacity to become a Nazi because the differences in beliefs really aren't that great at that point, you know?
Mhm.
Like I think there's like they are like shockingly similar. It's like the same fascist bullshit, you know? It's like these people, they need to be better, they need to be doing stuff my way, they need to do it right, we need to stop the degeneracy, fucking,
If
Yeah.
Marx is so great,
etc.
why is he
etc.
dead? Thanks, Testicle Johnson.
Yeah. That's a true.
Real.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, when you
I'm no
when you
longer a
went and
Marxist now.
okay, when you went and researched all my videos for this, like, did you watch the three forms of fascism? That's my big one.
I wanted to. I
Ah,
think I might have. I actually, you know what? I think I told ChatGPT to summarize it for me. I didn't want to
there's
watch
no
that
way
one
that
in full.
that did it properly. There's no way. You've seen that, right? I think you've seen that, right? Wick? I think I sent it to you like a few months ago.
Um, I, you know what? It's been a while, so I
Yeah.
can't. I
I'm
can't. I don't
scrolling
watch a
through your
lot of
videos right
shit.
now.
Okay, my brain's been blowing up about this Brianna Wu stuff, so that's what I've been, right, like
Oh,
distracted
Oh
on.
yeah.
boy.
Didn't she
Right.
get canceled by Sunday for some like it was like leaked DMs and like she actually looks great in them? Like what the fuck?
So
Oh no, she said some cringe shit, I
yes, she said some
believe.
cringe shit,
No,
but they
some
are trying to paint her out as
did she?
being transphobic,
She
Wait,
said
and
some weird shit
exclusionary to
about
NB,
non-binary
and I think
people.
that's just silly. It's like what she said, what she did was be mean to someone else, right, in a group chat. That was her sin. She basically made fun of someone's
I
looks
mean,
in an unkind way. That
yeah,
was
oh
unkind.
no.
She should not have done that. But Sunday's trying to conflate it into being this
well, it was in
vast
a way that
conspiracy
was
thing.
like
So.
directly attacking her gender identity, which is kind of like another deal. I do not believe though that the way that the left immediately jumps to like excising somebody and like trying to like ban
And you
them
do
from our
realize that
domain.
that's what they're trying to do, right? That's Sunday's
I think that's what some people are
goal.
trying to do. I think that's what a lot of people aren't trying to do, though. I do think Sunday is going a little bit over the top with it, but that seems to
A
just
little
be how
bit.
he is, kind
Okay,
of.
fair enough.
I think his entire online career has been going over the top.
Hey, you cannot talk shit, fella. Okay, the amount of
Sure,
like,
I can. Watch me. I just did.
the amount of over the top bullshit I've gotten from you, dude. All
Like
right,
what?
you
Okay,
Like
let's
what?
get
can
personal about this. What's the
Hit
over
me
the
with
top personal
Like what?
parasocial bullshit
Yeah.
that you've
like you
experienced from
getting
Dev?
angry at me blocking you, even though we'd like never interacted outside of me quote
Well, I wasn't
tweeting you and
angry.
making
I
fun
just
of
thought
you.
I just thought it was really fucking funny.
Really?
You blocked me twice over nothing. Over Twitter
I
banter.
unblocked you once to respond to you.
Yeah. That's still twice.
Well, yeah, because you're annoying. I mean, you.
It's-
what do you want me
it's-
to do? You know?
Yeah, it's I don't fucking know, but it's fun, man. Like we're just, like I know I'm not angry with you at all. I am having
Look,
fun. I am fucking
I
around on
would
Twitter.
gladly make the agreement to unblock you because I think you seem chill, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think I would enjoy interacting with you, provided you don't fucking
Troll
witch
you
hunt
anymore?
my audience. Yeah, don't go after me constantly. First of all, get off my dick. All right. Second of all, get off my audience's dick as well. Okay. Don't give them
What do you
shit
mean
if
your
you
audience
see
is
them in
dick?
my
What do you mean?
fucking. I've seen you. I saw you go after people in like my fucking replies or something. I don't know. It's like weird as well. I don't want like people getting like.
Are you
shit
going
on
after
my,
people
like,
on
turf,
Twitter, Dev?
basically.
Is that what you're doing?
It appears in the timeline. I respond. I'm a simple man.
Fair enough.
Okay. I mean, look. We'll see.
Listen,
okay?
man.
I'll think about it.
You can do whatever you like. It's fine. I am taking the piss. It's never nice to be blocked, but it's fine. Actually, it's okay. If you
Look,
can't handle the
man.
heat, I understand, my friend.
Okay.
I have no shame blocking people, okay? You're annoying. I will fucking immediately.
I will
no shame.
stand this in that I think having moderation tools that allow individuals to choose who they can and cannot listen to for themselves is actually based and actually helpful towards free speech. I think that
I agree.
doesn't contradict at all. And so when people try to mock like, oh, this person's pro free speech, but they block someone, oh, it's not really the own they think it is. That's freedom of association, which is a big part of free speech, I think. So
No, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Negative freedom to be disagreed with.
I wasn't making your pro free speech and yet you blocked me argument. I was making a you blocked me and you're a bitch argument. That was the argument I was making.
Fair.
Wait. Also, can I mention one other thing?
Go on.
I watched one of your latest video. I think it's the latest one you released, and at the end of that one, wait, let me see. I'm scrolling up.
Let me see.
Oh wait, no, I watched the Storybook of Reality video.
Yep.
Which was fun. I think it was interesting. I think you have, as I said, I think you have generally good opinions, which is why it confused me that you have bad ones as well.
I don't.
But at the end of that one, okay, you bitched about us socialists blocking you on Twitter just to go and have their like silly little socialist opinions somewhere else, and I was very amused by that.
Oh, that wasn't you. That was Dreamleaf.
That wasn't me.
That was Dreamleaf.
That was Dreamleaf. Okay. Well, I'm friends with Dreamleaf, so I'm gonna.
Man, I would love to have a conversation with Dreamleaf and Dev. That would be great if you could make that happen.
Oh, no.
That would be fucking insane.
I don't want to subject my friend to that.
What has this been? Has this been a?
This has been pleasant. I don't know how it.
So why do you think it would be any other way? Do you think I would allow Dev to be vile towards Dreamleaf?
I just got a reply from Dreamleaf. Should I ask her?
Yeah, ask her. Go ahead. Do it live.
Okay.
Say, yo, I'm with Dev right now on Wick show, because
are you gonna bitch out?
Yeah. Say, don't phrase it like that, Dev. You're horrible at this, right? What you do
I said,
is you
Dev
say,
is
yo,
asking if you want to debate skull emoji. Okay, that's the best
why?
you're gonna get.
You're both bad at this. Okay, this is my wheelhouse.
I think across the 10,000 accounts I've had, she's blocked me on every single one.
Why do you keep on interacting?
It's fun. It's Twitter.
Hey,
well, no,
Dev,
actually,
can you do me a favor?
If somebody blocks you and you keep on interacting,
up?
that's kind of cucked. I don't know.
It's a different account.
Yeah, Dev. can you do me a favor and ask, because Max will answer your questions. Can you ask Mark Twain's questions towards him so he actually answers these questions? Mark Twain's revenge keeps paying me money, and I don't want to cheat him out of his money, right?
$10, Max. Answer the questions. I don't remember what the questions were. I don't remember them.
I will.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I will read them out again. 1. Which industries would you nationalize? 2. How would you nationalize them? 3. Would you seize property against the will of owners? 4. Would you fairly compensate owners? 5. Would you use violence?
Would you fairly compensate owners? I think you'd give owners a little something. Fair compensation requires that it's not like them having like absurd amounts more than everyone else just because they were in possession of private property, though. How I would do it gradually and carefully, not, as I said, not just introduce the change from one day to the next. I can't tell you the fucking, like, yeah, exactly. I can't give you like a fucking like 5-10 year plan or something of every exact step I'd take, though. And I think the majority of people who have specific economic beliefs also cannot do that unless they had the time to prepare. So I'm not too concerned about that one.
Let me put it this way. President Max of the United States sends in the military to seize Amazon. Yes or no?
I mean, it depends on how Amazon's behaving. I feel like if you
like it is now.
If it was like
like it is now.
Well, I mean, like, if it was like it is now, I think you would probably bring about some sort of war if you tried to take Amazon on like that. I don't know.
You have a bigger military than the United States. The private Amazon
it wouldn't
guard?
surprise me, dude. It would. They got like all like the Amazon uniform shit. Nah, I don't know.
The ultimate issue with this, like what these 5 questions are getting at, is basically that in order to do some of this stuff, you are going to have to use, even if you do it democratically, you have to use way more force than most people are actually comfortable with. It's like are you going to march the army in and like nationalize businesses? Like, and then once you do that, because we've seen other countries do that, and like, what ends up happening? Oh, the government becomes more authoritarian. Businesses start leaving; they pull out because their stuff isn't safe anymore. Countries become destabilized. Like, even if people vote for this, it still ends up ruining things.
I think with every large political change, you will have some issues. I think that's true of anything, though, and I think the way that capitalism is right now doesn't really strike me as particularly sustainable. Yeah, I mean, there would naturally be some issues along the way with everything, but I don't think that those issues are totally irreconcilable and unfixable.
Okay, gang, it's been a great discussion. Do you guys?
Yeah, are we done already?
Okay. I mean, like, look, how do you want to spend like this dude's what time is it there? Like 2 a.m.
It's 2 a.m. I mean, look, I'll stay here. I might start smoking fucking weed or something so my brain can survive.
We got to be at least somewhat cognizant of other people's times.
Fair enough.
But I also wanted to bring on some callers because my audience is bugging me. So do you mind if I bring one-on-one, right, one at a time, some callers to ask you guys questions?
Here, Wick.
What's up?
Here.
Oh my god.
I don't know how I do. I don't know how I do this, actually.
What you trying to do?
Oh, I know a bunch of my viewers are in your chat, so you should post.
I'll post my Discord link to my
Yeah, post your Discord. So if my viewers want to come in, they can as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can do that to your chat too, Max. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching this, you want to jump on for a few minutes, and I'll void you when I'm bored with you, to be honest. So be entertaining or interesting, or I don't care about you. Click that link. React to the rules, like accept the rules. Click the Wick emote. This is my beautiful face there, and you'll see a VC called Backstage. It's at the top of the Discord. Jump in there, and if you're lucky, you'll get a chance. And we'll go on until, frankly, I'm bored. And then once I'm once I'm too bored, we'll end it. Thank you for the $2, Bobby Johnson. Great debate, Wick. Well, don't thank me. I just moderated it. Thank these lovely individuals who, can I just say, both of you were excellent tonight. I thought, Max, you did great. And Dev,
thank you.
Very good, like excellent. A+ to both of you. You're both. I didn't have to moderate very much, which I like. Okay,
it felt pleasant.
Indeed. Okay, let's bring some people in. You're live. What you got?
Yo.
What's up?
Okay. Oh, wait, do you want me to turn my camera on?
If you got a camera, sure. And also $10 from Lives in Dev's Walls. Dev, this forest hermit seems cool. Keep interacting with him. Do you grant wishes, Wick? If you give me enough money, I'll grant your wishes, baby. Come on, capitalism. But anyway, what you got for us, Clotrace?
Yeah, I
I
want
do
to
not
go
condone.
over Dev's earlier point about moral intuitions, because I think it's an interesting point, but I was a little unsatisfied with like the particular formulation. So, Dev, I'm going to try to summarize your position. If you think I'm being inaccurate, please interrupt me and correct me. So, it seems
Okay.
like there is this idea that we have these moral intuitions, that our positions evolve from them, and you seem to take particular umbrage with Max wanting to censor speech on the basis of those moral persuasions, because that is just a sort of, you said you have different morals, you have different psychology. Is that accurate?
That's pretty close. Yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that descriptive analysis, but I don't like the idea that, well, that means we can't do anything. All moral disagreements, I feel like, under this framework would be that kind of disagreement in psychology. Like, I believe that you should be able to marry 11-year-old. I'm sure I suspect all of us do, right? That would also seemingly be a difference of psychology, right? Even the idea that censoring someone's speech, that's a big step. Even that would be based in our psychology that our morals are sort of an evolved position from. So I don't see how you can sort of take unique umbrage with Max's position from that perspective and not sort of condemn any moral prescription.
Yeah, we didn't get enough into it because that was probably one of the many sidetracks where we got off the side of it, right? So for example, I mean, I could probably find somebody who does not object morally to marrying an 11-year-old, even though
Oh,
all four
sure.
of us would, right? So like very clearly, like if you have, let's say, a tolerant society, you're going to have some moral positions that you find to be um, immoral. However, you understand that some people in your society will not agree with you, and therefore you must tolerate them living by a morality that you don't agree with, right? And so if you follow this to its natural conclusion, you have you have a society that completely includes everyone and has no morality at all because there's no
Yeah.
moral prescriptions whatsoever. That's the issue here, right? So ultimately, you have to like choose what you tolerate and what you don't. And it's just that's just ultimately arbitrary, right? Like it's very unsatisfying, but that is just how it is. It's like, you know what? I'm going to oppress you because I find you to be immoral, and that's just how it is. There's no real way out of this problem. Like either your society has no moral force behind it, or you must oppress some people.
I don't necessarily disagree that you have to oppress some people, but I think that encapsulates a lot of things. And I don't think this analysis can sort of explain, times where we did have significant moral change. We used to feel very differently about, African Americans in the United States, but it feels like we made a lot of progress on changing what was acceptable to be believed. I don't
Sure,
see
I mean
why you couldn't
that's still
make.
true. Yeah.
So then if that's the case, then it doesn't seem arbitrary. It seems like we could make an analysis. What can we make ground on? For example, I am very pro-trans, but I think we need to. But I think a lot of people on the left need to much more seriously, examine what is realistic, what is feasible, and I think a lot of their positions aren't feasible. But other positions, like for example, clearly it was feasible to give rights to African Americans, even though it was unthinkable at the time and through incremental process. So it feels like it's not arbitrary. There is some sort of analysis that can be had, and I'd be curious to see that analysis applied to Max's positions and why you think we shouldn't do them.
The ultimate analysis here is just power, and that's a rough one. Once you swallow that pill, it gets pretty bad because it's like, well, you know what? Pedophiles don't really have that much power in our society, so I don't need to really consider their morality. I can just simply oppress them because I think they're immoral, right? However, if you have large power blocks in society who have different morals than you must appease them or else you're going to have war. It does just come down to who wields political power, who you're making alliances with, and who you can afford not to. And
No,
that
because
is like that is like a very might makes right argument, and that sucks. But it is the truth at the very bottom
no,
of this.
I see. I agree with that level, but I feel like you're missing other levels where we do have significant political disagreements that we resolve not through violence and might makes right, but through persuasion, trying to change people's minds. Public opinion does shift on these kinds of things, and people attempt and succeed to change public opinion on these things. So I feel like, I feel
Well,
like this
that's true,
analysis
that's
is
true,
lacking. Okay, well, then if that's the case, then that seems like it would be another important factor because I do think there are strong, or
Well,
you know,
this is, if
to be
I
honest,
may,
go
this
for it.
is why liberalism is something that I
Yes,
uphold,
base.
because
Yes.
as long as liberals hold power, you are allowed to persuade through nonviolent means. In almost
free
every other,
speech.
yes,
Really?
in almost every other system, might makes right in a much more tangible, immediate way. But as long as the belief structures of those in power are things like free speech, tolerance, etc., which liberalism does promote, then we will have peace, and it will be through
Well, kind
powers.
of.
Yeah, there's
More
problems,
peace,
right?
more peace, right.
I'm being
Well,
very like I'm glossing over a lot, okay, for the sake of the
yeah.
discussion.
No
But
wars ever in liberal societies.
look,
It's never
I am
happened.
absolutely okay with using force to keep people from, like, I think Americans should use force more often. I am absolutely okay with us using force to defend Taiwan. I'm absolutely okay with us using force to defend Ukraine. I'm absolutely okay with us using force to uphold the rights and morality that I deem is correct in societies that are lacking in that. But anyway, that's another discussion. Flo Trice, anything else before we let you go? We got a line. I want to get
Well,
to as many
yeah,
people as
I think we're kind of looping here. I just,
Sure, sure.
yeah, I think there's a lot more fertile ground for, you know, for Max's position. Not that I necessarily agree with it, in the sense of, you know, it's not just about, oh, well, you know, Max is a different, you know, form of psychology, but like, you know, there are lots of, you know, contradicting psychologies that lead to different moral positions in our society, and we usually have a more in-depth debate and discussion about them than just, you know, well, this is a different psychologist. I just found that very unsatisfying. I know you got
Sorry
cut.
that Dev
No,
didn't satisfy you. Okay.
well, I do actually want to reply to that though, if you don't
Go
mind,
ahead. Go ahead.
because
No, go for it.
so here's the thing. Like I've had a lot of moral conversations at this point, and I just tend to like speed run to Jonathan Haidt because I know how they all go, and they all eventually get there. Like obviously in a liberal society, you are allowed to have you're allowed to have various forms of debate where you say, well, don't you think that we should do this because it would be good, and here's why it would be good. Like you can do that, but and by the way, that's how most political conversations go. That's how most Twitch streams that I watch that are politics based and debate based, they all go that way as well. This is one of the reasons why I don't debate on Twitch generally, Wick, is because I know where all this leads already, and it goes to Jonathan Haidt.
I think
So
I thank you for making an exception in this case, and I hope you didn't. Do that. Yeah.
no problem. But basically, like in, let's say, less liberal societies, you can't do the debate, and it all just does come down to force. In more liberal societies, you have more wiggle room for debate, but behind it there is still
Yes.
the specter of force. It
I
has
agree.
to be there, or else you have no, or else you have nothing. There has to be some force. But with, you know, with the walled garden of debate that force builds, you can go into that garden and then have very civil conversations about what is right and what is wrong and what we should do. And that is preferable. I guess just to me, it's like I know that it all comes down to psychology already. So those kind of conversations, they're not that interesting to me.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, I mean, it's fine for you to not think it's interesting. I just think there is more substantive. I think that's a bit of a cop out. I think there is more substantive debate and discussion that we ought and should take seriously, like over like matters of fact and stuff like that. And clearly, you know, we're not perfectly
I agree
rational,
with
but
you
we
on
still,
that.
How are
we
you
still
gonna?
can.
A lot of
I
things, a
agree
lot of
with you, yes.
positions you can't debate people out of, though, right? This is like my issue with these super radical positions existing. That if you have people who are actually like saying like Jews just are evil, they are inhuman. How is somebody gonna like actually like talk them out of that, especially like a Jewish person, right?
Listen, here's how you do it. You show them Ben Shapiro's sister. That's all you need.
Hey, but the serious
Oh,
answer to that
no.
is I
That
don't
poor
believe
lady.
that. I don't
Yeah, I don't believe
believe
that
that no
either.
one
I
can
don't believe that
change your
either.
opinions. I disagree.
Mhm.
I think
Okay,
that
not no
over a
one.
long
This is gonna
enough
be really
period of time.
hard.
No, in a
But there
single
are-
debate, just
no,
real
no.
quick, let me answer. In a single debate,
Okay.
absolutely, you're correct. But we're not talking about
Mhm.
that. What I'm doing when I have these discussions is I'm planting seeds that I may never water, I may never see grow. But as long as those seeds are there, a lot of the reasons that people
You
say
can change their
trapped,
psychology.
because
Should
I've
have said that
talked
at
to
the beginning.
people who have come from radical groups, right? Who come outside of really radical, really extreme cult-like groups, right?
They're
And one of the
talking to them.
things that those cult-like groups do is they isolate themselves on purpose so that no one can
Yes.
influence them. And so what
This is
I'm
my
saying
issue.
is we do not help them with that by isolating them from us, because that's what they'll do. The reason that the KKK sends their kids out first, right, in their parades, is so people will spit on the kids, and they do, like saying, you're a fucking white supremacist. There's no place for you in our society. So where are they going to go? They have no off-ramp.
They wouldn't even exist, though.
Right?
The KKK wouldn't exist. My issue with permitting this, especially permitting it in a public forum, is that you can have way more people joining. I do agree with you that if we do deplatform people, we will end up making a smaller group of people who are more isolated, but it will end up affecting less people.
And
less people will be brought into that ideology. More violent.
That's cozy TV.
That
though.
depends. That's
TV.
exactly why I also believe that we should be that we should be making legislation that protects that stops violent speech.
So
right.
There is a study of and I don't have it on my fingertips. I wish I did. Right. I'll find it for you though. Right. This was in Europe, and it was a 10-year study about how different systems in Europe dealt with their right-wing extremists. Right. And the systems that suppressed the speech more led to more violence, because you have taken away their vent, their ability to speak, but they will still be heard. And if they cannot be heard through words, they will use other means to be heard. And that is what we want to avoid. We want the vent that they could say talk your shit, king. Right. But it might be counterintuitive to you, but I'll send you the study. Don't worry, right? Like, I'll get it for you.
Please send me the study.
Right, please, yeah.
First off. Second off, I think these people would find ways to talk about their ideas. It would just be in a space that's so far removed from the mainstream that it's not nearly as effective and not nearly as damaging, right? That's what we want to be doing. You think about things like Alex Jones, and I'm sorry, I'm mega autistic about Alex Jones. I've listened to so much shit of him.
I don't know much about him. So, yeah.
That's okay. But like, you think about like the way that some of the things that he said and some of the conspiracies that he believed in when he was still available on YouTube and he was still accessible through a mainstream medium, he was more seen as a potentially credible figure. But if you have someone who's banned off all of these like mainstream platforms and they're only available on the spaces like populated by like the most like insane people, you're not going to end up going over there unless you're already insane, and therefore it ends up preventing other people from doing it. It's like putting those ugly pictures on cigarette boxes, right? You might not stop everyone who's already smoking cigarettes, but if the other people who haven't smoked yet, they see those awful pictures, they think, oh, that looks nasty, I don't want to be involved with that, and then they start less.
That's the answer.
Well, there's two problems with this point of view, though, in my opinion, because like one is that you end up with cozy TV, all right? And Nick Fuentes seems to be maybe not at his peak, but way more popular than he was before he was deplatformed, because he built his own platform. He built Cozy TV,
see if that's
and now
true,
now he has the Groypers, and they're going around in real life doing stuff, all right? And then secondly, is that you get to a point where you start banning people who really don't deserve to be banned, like. It's not just people that you think are white supremacists. It's like random conservatives are getting banned. All right, it's gone too far, especially in the online space. Like
that's a fucking mega slippery slope out of nowhere. There,
Sansol just got banned yesterday. Sansol, the guy who rated me on Kick, got banned yesterday. You know what he did? He disagreed with people over the Brianna Wu stuff. So they mass flagged and mass reported him and got him banned.
That is really stupid. I once got I once got suspension for calling Samira Khan, that one RT journalist. I called her a bitch because she said that like weed makes you stupid, and I said, how come I smoke every day and I'm still not as dumb of a bitch as you are? And they gave me 7 days for that. Like, there is some insane fucking overstepping.
7 days of suspension,
right? So perhaps in this quest for more and more safety, we've gone a bit too far. And now people are getting banned over things that are relatively innocuous.
Yeah. But this is, if you're gonna say that argument about fucking free speech laws, you could make that same argument about literally every other law, right? Everything you could say.
That's
what if they
overstepped?
What if they just didn't
let me
follow
try
the
this.
rules?
Do you believe in systemic racism in America?
Wait, like
systemic racism, that the laws are systemically unjust and institutions are systemically biased against.
I mean, the laws aren't explicitly systemically oppressive. but there is like systemic oppression.
So
as
why
a
would you give those
previously
institutions more
explicit.
power to censor and suppress people, knowing that they are inclined to, again, more often, systemically impress minorities, black people, and
Because
people
there'd be
without
rules
power.
about that. As I said like
What?
50 times this
But
debate, we would have protected classes.
That's such a bad
and-
argument, Wick. Every law that's an argument against every law ever, or any institutional power ever.
Flowtrash.
Based anarchy, go.
No, it is not. It is simply
Well,
when it
finally.
comes
I
to
need to go
speech
call my friend who makes
specifically.
glasses.
Right?
Here. I know that like earlier, much
My
I
friend
don't
whose
know.
hobby is making Ritalin.
Wait, are you calling up like
Wife.
Demon Mama? You're
Yeah,
calling
I'm
Demon
making
Mama
fun
for her
of
like
that one
her
tweet,
bathtub fucking
Yeah,
her
my
bathtub
friend who's the
hormones.
chemist.
Well, you guys
And
have
then
all
the doctor,
you guys
yeah.
have all seen the glasses interaction, right? With the anarchists, like, how would you get glasses in
Oh my
anarchist
gosh.
society? Hey, I make glasses.
Yeah.
Hey, I need glasses. Thanks. Here you go.
I think we're all
the
in
wandering
agreement about
glasses maker.
anarchy.
Holy fuck. Yeah.
Flowtrace,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go because we do have a line.
Wait, don't let him go.
Take down.
Oh wait,
Oh,
Give me just a minute. So
a minute.
I know
please.
that you said that it was like a cop out before. Like my answer when I appealed to moral intuition was a cop out. Okay, here's kind of how it would go. Right, it'd be like, well, Karl Marx, why do you want to redistribute those 5 houses? And then you're going to make some argument about the greater good of homeless people who need houses, and I'm going to make some argument about the necessity of keeping capital in the hands of its owners because they work for that capital, and there's like other economic arguments, and we're going to go back and forth on like which one of these two positions is let's say more moral to follow. And I think if we actually spent like 30 minutes drilling down to the bottom of that, it would simply come down to preference. Like I already kind of know where that goes.
So
No,
not
see,
true.
it's funny
I
because
think most
you said
human
utilitarianism is like a cope. I actually believe everyone is secretly a utilitarian. I believe you'd come down to like you guys like maybe having a different calculus, but like I think there would be a lot of fertile ground there to maybe learn, maybe get closer.
God, if we keep you on here, you're just never gonna.
Okay,
Dev's never gonna let you go.
Last thing.
Dev's never gonna
SDL
let you go.
SDL versus Short Fat Kotaku is still happening, right? Well, Rick,
Oh, you
SDL,
want that, right?
SDL versus Short Fat Kotaku.
Are you
Yes.
an SDL viewer?
No, listen. I'm a Destiny
I was
shill
talking
through
to
and through,
SDL.
but I do
He
want
helped
that
me
argument to
prepare.
happen because
I'm
SDL,
okay
I don't
with
agree
it.
with him, but that dude has his receipts. So
Sock Down Left.
Yeah.
I do
No, he
want to
helped me
host that.
prep.
I
He
do
sent
want to
me so
host
much
this.
shit. It's
Sock
great.
Down Left's
did he?
down for it.
Yes,
He's
he
in my
needs to
DMs
happen.
asking.
Yeah,
me
it
to do
needs to happen.
So,
But no, I'm not a Sock Done Left defender. I'm a
Okay.
full Dalaban.
Destiny's actually a good
Mujahideen
boy.
warrior. Yeah.
Oh no.
Destiny's a good boy in my
Yeah.
experience.
Okay.
So he's cool.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Wick.
But,
Bye bye.
Flowtrace, bye bye.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, Pisscraft, what you got?
Pisscraft.
You'll understand in a minute. Go ahead.
In a minute.
I'm terrified.
You're live, buddy.
I have a couple questions for Karl Marx.
What's
All
up?
right. So my first question goes like this, and I'd like to prompt it with a quote.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know.
Going for it.
Jesus Christ! I'm the fucking loser. I forgot to mute my YouTube video. My apologies. All right,
We couldn't hear it. It's fine.
Max. For Marx,
What's up?
the right to think and speak the truth was an elementary human right, and freedom of the press, as he said, merely human freedom in practice. Marx recognized that human freedom is made up of a complex of interdependent freedoms. At one point, he hands the final word to Tacitus: "Rara temporum felicitae, ubique veli sentire, etque sanitas dicere licet." It is the rare fortune these days that one may think of one likes and say what one thinks. Marx is critiquing the authoritarianism of the Tsar in that moment. And remember, the Tsar shit on the socialist revolutionaries first. The Socialist Party itself is quoted as, "The denial of freedom of speech is the blackest treason against the tradition of socialism. The enslavement of the free word is a fundamental mark of the counter-revolutionary principle of Russia's political system, a system that justifies itself by an appeal to Marxism." Do you disagree with Marx and the Socialist Party analysis?
I think that if you ask Marx about what he thinks should happen when there's like online disinformation and things like fucking QAnon, where a bunch of people are following fucking 4chan board, I think he would probably also say that that's a bad thing. You should get rid of it, or make it harder to access.
Why would you believe that when we have direct quotations throughout a majority of his works?
Because
where
I
he
think that
enshrines
Marx
this
is
as a
living
right.
at a different time when he probably didn't know about things like QAnon, and it probably wasn't a huge issue.
Wait, that's entirely untrue.
I-
There were several mystical beliefs at that time in regards to like
Mhm.
Rasputin with the Tsar and other religions, other cults. In fact, religiosity was much, much more important in the day-to-day lives of the then. I'm asking you, why do you believe that you know better than Marx on the subject of socialism
I
by
think
Marx?
QAnon's a lot more than just a religion.
Would you go ahead and Google for me the amount of QAnon supporters in the America currently?
How is that relevant?
I mean, if you're gonna state that it's more relevant in today's times versus like I don't know the Christian population of Russia who might believe things that you believe to be untrue at the time, I'd fail to see why you believe that would be of greater impact than the times that Marx was living in.
I don't really understand your point. I think you have a responsibility to protect the people from misinformation and
Okay.
falsehood.
So if we were to find out that the labor theory of value was false and individuals that were purporting it and action to be based upon it were believed in dangerous misinformation, we should like quell them at the
I don't
first
think that would
opportunity.
qualify as dangerous misinformation. I think
Wha-
dangerous misinformation is things like saying, fucking, I don't know, if you drink bleach, it's going to make COVID go away.
Wait,
you know?
wait, hold on. You haven't delineated why. If we have a fundamental misunderstanding about how individuals interrelate to one another, and this inspires somebody to take action in the real world based on a false belief, you didn't draw delineation between the impact of false belief, only that the belief was false itself. You should have no problems stomping on the protester who believes in the LTV rather than like any other thing that you've drawn an allusion to this entire conversation.
I do not get what you're trying to tell me there.
Okay, I don't think this is going anywhere
I've
productive.
got one other question.
One more
other
question. Go for it.
I have another quote. A cooperative can be defined as an entity that facilitates the convergence of interests consisting of workers affiliated with the same profession and sector with the aim of overseeing production in a comprehensive manner. Theoretically, each union within this structure assumes the responsibility of advocating for its interests of its respective profession, particularly through the negotiation of labor agreements. We believe this method could result in harmony among social classes. Do you agree with this goal of socialist labor theory?
Of trying to create what harmony between like the owner class and the worker class by having unions?
Yeah, the cooperatives, the unions, everything that I just laid out prior.
I mean, I think that would be a good stepping stone. Ultimately, though, we need to reduce the amount of people who have insane amounts of money and have basically enforcing inequality. Being a product of inequality more.
We never got into that, did we?
But you are for cooperatives and you are for all of these systems, yes or no?
For all of these systems, which one specifically?
Oh, sweet Christmas. A cooperative of unions that pushes the working class, that this will reduce the income inequality that you state, that the capital and labor, all of those things. Okay. That is actually from 1932's Doctrine of Fascism by Benito Mussolini. Do you still agree with it?
I mean, I think Mussolini had like a decent amount of pretty standard economic policies. Like there was
you are for Benito Mussolini's economic policies?
I don't know enough about them to say that, but I know that some of them are probably going to be things that I wouldn't necessarily disagree with. I'm not going to say I would disagree with every single thing that Mussolini ever did. He probably had some ideas which would be.
What do you agree with that Mussolini did?
Come on.
I don't know enough to say.
Let's not. Okay, Fistcraft. I get it. I understand, right? But if Mussolini said water is good for you, there's no need to. Oh, I guess Hitler drank water too. That level of analysis is kind of weird. Fistcraft, thank you for coming on. Goddamn.
Yeah, I mean,
Jesus
like
put down the thesaurus, dog. What the fuck?
You know, to your credit, when we talked about there was like some ideological links between fascism and socialism, you were like, yeah, I get it. You weren't like coping like most leftoids do. So
yeah, no, because most people are like relatively like humanitarian. They just like have different beliefs of who qualifies as that, right? I mean, I think lefties kind of forget that. It's easy to just.
Oh, sorry. You're lying. Continue talking. I'm sorry. I just want to bring the next caller in. So.
That.
Hello.
God damn
Next
it.
caller.
Hey,
Yeah, what's up? You just say your thing. Go
well,
ahead.
I don't really
Take
have
your
a whole
shit.
lot, but I did hear mention about worker co-ops like at some point later on, and I was wondering because I heard about a shift in what was it? The slight shift in finances of people who might have some more high demand jobs, high risk, dirty jobs,
Mhm.
jobs that require more skill. What's stopping, say, that the wealth gap from being transferred over to any form of legacy? Because I wanted to hear more about that, if you don't mind.
Oh, I mean, I think you shouldn't be able to pass down like huge amounts of money. I think you
Okay.
should be able to pass down like things like maybe like a house or like a personal property or stuff like that. But if you do just allow people to take on a ton of generational wealth, then it will just generate inequality if there's a family who's just more lucky.
So what
That
if
sounds based.
the wealth were like placed into the house, invested into decorations, interior improvements, the likes of that? Would that still be fine? Like extensions?
I mean, sure. I think it would. It depends on how extensive it gets, right? You should probably try and force some sort of limit on not having someone just expand outwardly infinitely and get like a huge building or something, like a mall size or something. But that seems probably fine.
Okay, I see. Another thing
Max-size houses.
Another thing
Hmm?
I was wondering about was because I remember this vaguely when talking about the free speech argument. There was some talk about how there are, limits on free speech because nobody's an actual absolutist. I was wondering what the two of you, what's your like limitation on free speech? Where do you draw the line? Like, I know some people say that the fire in the movie theater is an idiotic like type of argument, and I wanted to know where your limitations lie.
Um, well, I think
it's
we
a
both kind of, already gave our limitations. For me, it's like coming up to violence, like as an actionable threat. Otherwise, go ahead and speak it. And you, Max, you were more restrictive.
But Dev, is that your
yeah.
only?
I
Hold on, because I don't think this is true, actually, Dev. I think you have more limits than that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Why do you say so?
fair. Do you think that someone should be able to release your personal medical information online, just to everyone, if they find out about it?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Do you
Well,
think
here's the
they
thing.
should be able to release
Hold
your
on.
location?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
If it's like, here's the thing. Here, I'll give
why
you
would you
another
do
black
yourself
pill.
like that?
I'll give you another black pill. I don't think anyone actually gives a shit about doxing. I think everyone uses it as a stick to
That's
beat
an
each other with.
insanely privileged thing to say, my guy. Fuck.
Hold on.
You
When it
probably
comes to
don't care about.
just wait,
Okay, go on.
Let him
when it
explain.
comes to getting doxxed, I have
Sorry.
more to lose than like a random. I'm actually I'm not a big YouTuber. I'm not a small YouTuber anymore. Like I could get fucked up for sure. No, what I mean though is like whenever people say,
Whoa.
"Oh my god,
Okay.
you doxed
Excuse
someone,"
me.
no, you know what I mean. Come on, I am much
I'm
more
fucking
likely to
with
have
you.
some guy show up in my house. You know what I mean? But I think people don't actually care about doxing. They only care about it insofar as you can use it to morally browbeat somebody in a debate. It's like you dox someone, but if this reason were reversed, they
I
wouldn't
think
actually
that's an
care that much.
insane take.
I
I think
don't,
that's an
I think
insane thing to say.
I don't think so. I've seen so many people who have been like, don't you think it's bad that you like, but then when the tables reverse and it's against someone that they don't like, they're like, yeah, get his ass. I've seen that happen so many times. I don't think anyone
I
actually
mean,
has a principled stance on doxing.
this depends because I think that if somebody is deserving of some sort of like social punishment for some sort of action, and there
Oh,
is
so you
no
do have a
systemic way.
yeah.
Okay,
So
you're
yeah.
unprincipled. You're like saying no one is unprincipled though, Dev. That's not true. I think there are plenty of people. You may not run into them because you deal a lot with the crazies, because it's
Maybe, yeah,
Twitter,
maybe.
right? But
It's
there
very
are
possible.
Yeah,
people
everyone
like
you
I
like
was
is
against.
insane.
I'll give you an example.
That's not true. That's
I
not
think doxing is wrong because it's an intimidation tactic. To be clear, I think that it's a bad thing, and we should cut down on it. It's morally reprehensible to dox someone.
Thank
Like when
God.
Taylor Lorenz docked libs of TikTok, I spoke out against that. A lot of people were mad at me for that.
Cringe.
But that was, again, if you
That's
think
sorry,
doxing is
libs of
wrong, you
TikTok.
have to think it's wrong
Libs
when
of
they do it
TikTok-
to the bad guys.
Libs of TikTok literally dox people though. They're literally like
Okay,
they
if
interacted and
if
boosted
I
people's
kill your
doxes.
child, does it give you the moral right to kill
My point
my
is being
child?
proven, chat.
Well, your child would be innocent. It wouldn't be a child who's like made their whole career stochastic terrorism on Twitter. Like,
But
there's a bit of a
again-
difference between doxing someone whose like whole deal is shitting on like fucking trans people who are
let me
dead,
give you a more direct example. If I cut
or
out
trying to
someone's
make them more
eye,
dead.
should I let?
Huh?
If I cut out someone's eye, should someone be able to
Okay.
cut out? Should that person be able to cut out my eye? If I
Yeah.
torture them for days, should I be tortured for days?
I mean, if they want to, it's up to them. But like,
You-
if there's
you
no
think
other like
that
vehicle
Someone
access and
who
you
has
tortured
tortured
them
someone
for days,
that the state should allow the victim or the victim's
I
family
mean, this
to
isn't the
torture
same
them
though.
for
It's
days.
not about the
right?
state. This is about doxing. This is about like one person doxing somebody who's doxed like what,
So-
like 5-6 different people. Like
Here-
they're
here-
very much responsible for a lot more suffering than one dox to them would ever cause.
Well,
It's not
let me
comparable.
let me point out what I mean though. So for example, you know, right now the conversation is doxing, but it's been several things over the course of this conversation where you've been like, well, this thing is wrong, and then one of us will point out, well, what if it happened to your political opponents? And you're like, oh, it's good then. It's like,
Well,
well,
because
that's
there are
kind-
differences though between somebody who's actively trying to make someone's life worse because of an immutable characteristic, and then somebody going after the person whose whole deal is making people's lives worse.
Okay.
Like, this is like
Well,
very
yeah.
much the thing of people being like, wait a minute, you don't like it when I say that trans people shouldn't be able to go outside, but then you get angry when I show up in a Hitler costume? What? Like, come on, really? You think that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
comparable in every situation?
Let me put it this way. Assume for a minute that I was a different person and I applied zero moral weight to the idea that somebody who has an immutable characteristic should be protected because they have it. All right? Assume I was
Mhm.
somebody who was different. You saying that would not make any difference to me. I want people with different immutable characteristics oppressed in this hypothetical.
Okay.
Right? So this is what I
Mhm.
mean though, is like when I say that no one actually has these principles, they simply want their opponents oppressed and their group
That's
privileged.
just not right, though.
No, but
Left-
you're
right
actually
wingers say this
embodying
about
this
the
right
left
now.
all the time. No. Right wingers say this about leftists all the time. Right after leftists say, like, hey, maybe let's like not allow this group of people to like constantly say every day that they want to kill all N-words, you know? And then you're like, wait a minute, but we let you talk on Twitter. Like, my guy, there's a big difference between the side that wants to get rid of people and the side that regularly fucking like talks about like genociding people, and the side that wants to exist, right?
Okay,
Like, I know there
What's
are like
different?
trans people and
compromise?
lefties who are like shitty.
Yeah, I know. What you mean, like, no. Okay, what's the difference though?
What's the difference?
Yes, I want you to explain
Well,
this to me.
what's the difference between
Those
people
two
who want to do
sides.
murder and people who want to exist?
Mhm.
Well, one of them wants to do murder and kill people in order to enforce their lifestyle or morals. The other side
Sure.
wants to exist and not be killed. They
Okay.
also don't really be that. It's not like, because it's not comparable, because it's not like trans people being like, okay, you have to be trans, you have to be trans, you have to be trans. Contrary to fucking like white supremacists who are a lot more concerned about their in-group being the only existing one than trans people who are really just trying to exist among everybody else and be accepted.
Well, right, but this is kind of what I mean, though, is that you're appealing to your own morality when you say this, which is what everyone does, right? You say like listen, I have these moral intuitions. I think that people who have these immutable characteristics should be protected, and that's fine. That's what you should do. But someone who doesn't share those moral intuitions, they're not going to give a shit. Someone who actually wants to kill all black people, they don't care what you want. They're going to go out and do it, or they're going to try, or they're going to promote it. They're going to do something, right?
What's your
What
argument?
the argument is that
Mhm.
when it comes down to it, you and most people will simply they don't have a principled stance on morality. They want their political enemies oppressed, and they
I've
want
given you
their
my
political
principles
friends.
So Max,
so
No, no,
many
no, no.
times though.
No, you. But here's the thing: what your principles are exactly what I'm saying. You want there to be a different set of rules that apply to your political enemies because they are your political
No,
enemies, and
I
you
don't
think that they're
mind
evil.
wait,
my
let me
political
let me
enemies.
demonstrate
I
this.
mind
Max,
people who are trying to
Max,
hurt people.
do you think that the Libs of Talk should have been able to dox people?
No.
Do you think people should have been able to dox Libs of TikTok?
Only if it had already
Yes, so
happened to
okay,
them.
fair enough. Okay, Jesus. See, this is the difference, right? You're like, no, this group shouldn't be allowed to do doxing to this group, but if the other group wants to do doxing to that group, that's okay because reasons.
Is it alright if I ask a question
No.
on this?
Go
Yeah,
on.
have you even asked your question yet?
I
Oh,
asked
I don't even
shit,
know if you
okay,
asked
I'm
your
sorry.
question.
Well, I was wondering if Libs of TikTok like doxed 5 people and nothing happened, but let's say like Libs of TikTok got assaulted after being doxed, would that still be justified in like the lens of consequentialism? What's the math there? How would you feel about
I
that?
think it would depend. It's really hard to quantify how much damage somebody's truly done.
I
So
understand.
I wouldn't be willing to necessarily hunker down and say this was definitely the right thing to do 110%. But I would probably be, I don't know. I wouldn't want to celebrate someone being assaulted, but I probably wouldn't be like particularly shocked if somebody got attacked after doing like dedicating their life to being hateful.
Okay.
Okay, this isn't hypothetical either. There have been people on the left who've gone into like, I think there was a group in California who was more traditional rights. I don't have the name of the group at the top of my hand, but a leftist got arrested, right, for going in with a gun, planning to shoot them all, right? He got
Yeah.
arrested. This was back in 2015, 2016-ish, right?
Those are the trans shooter, right? Like there's examples.
There's a lot of
this stuff,
examples
yeah.
of this. And
The
the left,
trans
the
shooter,
radical
that was
left,
a
maybe not
tanky,
your
I
version of the
believe.
left, right? Maybe not your position. I'm not putting this position on you, but there are people on the left that I've talked to again and again and again who are perfectly fine punching Nazis, killing TERFs, like with
I mean, I
really
think
violent
punching
like
Nazis
rhetoric,
can
right?
be okay in retaliation sometimes. Like I punched people who
I
I,
don't-
would consider to be far right or whatever, but that was as a
Have they
consequence of
punched
how
you?
they treated me. No, but they enacted like violence via other means, which I couldn't take
Violence
care of
via other means. Can you
systemically.
give me an example?
Like being like called slurs and like hate crimes and stuff, basically.
Okay, so they said
No, I
mean
mean
things to
violence.
you, so you physically assaulted them.
Due to there being no other way of dealing with the problem and actually making them not continue, yes.
Niz, thanks for being here.
And it worked.
Okay.
It
Thanks for
worked.
having
I
me.
used to be
Oh no,
told
I
fucking
get.
shit
so-
all
so-
the time by this one kid, and then I whacked him once, and he stopped being shitty to me and racist to my friend. Like,
No,
it,
I completely agree. It
sometimes
works.
if there's
Like, yes.
no other solution, I think that is something that you genuinely just have to
So-
resort to.
So here's the thing. The argument that I'm making is not meant to shit on you, Max. I'm not here
no.
saying no. It's not. I'm simply
Okay.
trying to make you understand exactly what it is you're doing, because you are doing what your political opponents do. You reward your friends and you punish your enemies. No, seriously. Okay,
This
okay.
is
No, no,
the
here-
most like okay. Go on.
No,
Sure,
okay.
justify
No,
it.
here. Let me put it this way, right? So you punch a Nazi because he's saying slurs to you and he's making you feel bad, he's annoying you, and that got him to stop.
Mhm.
Okay. You could have like a Nazi punch a black kid or something, right?
Okay.
And he's going to justify it through his own moral framework. So for you, your morality says saying slurs
well,
is
his moral
wrong,
framework is retarded.
but he thinks that of yours.
I don't care. He's wrong.
And-
I'm right.
And he doesn't care, and he thinks that he's right and you're wrong.
That doesn't matter. This is how politics
And
and opinions work.
he thinks
You
that
will-
too. But
Right.
here's the thing. So this is why it ultimately comes down to just violence and force. That's at the end of it.
That's
That's
retarded.
all of it.
That's
you-
so
no,
stupid.
You just
That's
walked
so
into that. You
dumb.
just said it. You just
I
said
didn't
it.
walk into it. You've been trying to make this like gotcha the entire time. It's not
I
applicable.
for one,
though.
I
It just
for one
doesn't
don't
work.
think I would not allow, because let's be real, neither well, I don't know about Dev. I don't know Dev that much, but Max, your ideology isn't in charge. Mine is. And my ideology says we don't allow the Nazi to punch the black kid. We stop that by force. Nor do we allow the black kid to punch the Nazi. We stop that by force because vigilantism, this ain't the wild, wild west, kings. We do not allow it. We are saying that the state has a monopoly on violence, and it should have a monopoly on violence because anything else is just gang warfare.
As long as the state is functioning.
So here's the thing. Wick,
really
I agree with you. Here's the thing, Wick, I agree with you, but there's a black pill to your position too that I haven't quite figured out because I'm also a liberal, right? But the black pill to the liberal position is that liberals still tend to use violence along their own morality. So every political position.
We need to fix that. I agree with you. I don't know how.
Yeah. Every political position says we have this morality, and we're going to use violence against other people based on this morality. Everyone says that. Everyone thinks that, including liberals. As much as liberals say no, we're neutral. We just we occupy the neutral space. Liberals say that all the time. It's not true. I'm a liberal. I know, but it's just it's. Basically, the fact that Max says, I don't know what's Max doing,
I'm
rummaging around.
Sorry. I'm looking for my.
Trying to get high.
I'm listening though. I got my headphones.
Oh, dude, wireless headphones are so nice. I love them. They're great.
It's great. So it's like the best.
But yeah,
fucking
but basically, everyone says my morality allows me to use force on you, and if you don't agree, well, you're stupid. That's an argument that everyone uses, and I just don't find it appeling.
I think
it doesn't solve anything.
I will say this. I'm not a moral relativist. And again, I'm not a philosopher. Excuse me. I'm not a philosopher.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a philosopher king or anything like that. But I do think that there are certain moral truths to the world that are just true. Killing people outside of exceptional circumstances is wrong, and I don't care if your
That's not a moral truth, is it? You just said it's not a moral truth.
If your culture, you can have a truth, but the variables can change and shift so that, again, it can.
That sounds like not.
But there are some foundational principles, right, that I think hold true and are true regardless of whether your culture thinks it's true or not. And this might be my religious upbringing talking. It's very possible, right? But I think that there are certain intrinsic things, and I tend to agree with the founding fathers. We are born with inalienable rights, and I think the Bill of Rights is a good, at least, framework for those things. I agree with those things. I support those things. I think those are moral goods. And I think that they lead to more happiness, better outcomes in general than other ways of thinking, other ways of doing things. And so I will, and because I believe that, I will fight to uphold that and to keep people from tearing that down. Yes.
See, I mostly agree with you. I'm not religious at all. I'm atheist and raised atheist. I don't have a single ounce of spirituality in my body, though I respect a lot of people who do. There's something in there that I think I'm missing out on, frankly, in not being.
Yeah, I get that feeling growing up atheist. It's kind of sad seeing all these people have they have a nice community. They have a thing that they can all rally. Yeah, it's hard to not find it a bit enviable.
I guess the issue is that when it comes down to my morality says that I can oppress you, and your morality says that you can oppress me, and we both think that we're retarded for having each other's morality, and we're going to fight now. I've just become at peace with that. That's why I call myself a liberal supremacist. It's you know what? Okay, you don't agree with me that my morality is better. That's fine, but I'm still going to impose it on you. And then the anarchists scream at me, oh my God, how could you do, you fucking statist? Oh my God, you're an authoritarian. Yeah, fine. I guess I am. But fuck it. It's the right thing to do.
Okay. Let's bring on one more call. Let's do one more call.
Yeah, I want to skedaddle soon. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, so. I understand. I was feeling that.
Is Naxalis there? Naxalis is from my community.
Oh, man, I got Naxalis. I see a guy with it. Maxalis or Naxalis with an N or an N?
Nax. It's an N. No, don't play favorites. I feel bad. Don't play favorites.
No, you get to bring one on.
It's okay. I'll survive. Let's go.
You're live.
What's up, dude?
Hello.
I think this is a guy. I don't know. I have streamer mode on, so it's hard to see names.
Yeah.
Non-gendered dude.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good to see you. I watch you too, Wix. Big fan. But I wanted to ask, since this conversation's been all over the place, about where KARL Max thinks there is a good place for political diversity within his own acceptable framework of I guess, the ideal government. So I mean, a
Plenty
lot of I was
plenty
gonna
of
say a lot
political
of
diversity available.
socialist states end up becoming one party, and obviously, unless you think there's
Oh,
only
yeah.
one right way to do it, then there should
Mhm.
be a diversity of opinion within your own, I suppose, Overton window. And so, how do you determine where those boundaries should be set? I mean, obviously not Nazis, but if not those, where would be the limits?
Well, I mean, you can't really force people to think one way or another, right? The best thing you can do is try to affect progress and then try to improve education, and that way you can end up moving people further over if they understand shit better. That's been like proven to work. I mean, most like people who are educated end up being left wing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like
Fair.
if you had a society that gradually did change and built up to that kind of thing, people would be working from within that framework, and then you wouldn't have parties being like, hold up, we want to uproot everything. It would just be probably different parties which were, you know, socialist in different ways and wanted to focus on different things. But it wouldn't be like, I doubt it would suddenly be taken apart because you would have this gradual shift over and then you'd have gradual change of opinion.
But you would allow, for example, if you have one flavor of Marxist socialism that you believe helps the masses, creates the best utopia, and you have a competing
Mhm.
flavor, and you think that doesn't help you get there, how do you justify that coexisting in your party ecosystem, whereas you wouldn't allow that for, say, a more far right or even maybe centrist capitalist type of party? Or would you allow capitalist parties to exist in your ideal state?
Well, I mean, if people wanted that, then yeah. I mean, I don't think I am I believe in democracy, right? I'm not going to suppress the people's will, and I think
So
if
your
you
view
do
of
that for long enough,
democracy supersedes that of your socialism view. You bow towards democracy when the two come in conflict. So even though you think that socialism would be better overall for
I
everyone,
believe I believe that these two are deeply intertwined, and that if we did
Mm.
reach a socialist state, that we would democratically not be returning to a capitalist one because it would just be worse, right? In my conceptualization, shit works out. People recognize that. They probably wouldn't want to fuck it up and suddenly make it incredibly unequal again.
Your
Um,
answer is very similar to the answer Hassan gave in the conversation he had with Ethan on
oh no,
his
don't say
podcast.
that
Did
to
you follow
me.
that? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say Hassan was an idiot. You made that assumption. Now I may feel that, but he had
He
given the
ate
take
shit in
that
those.
under the
Go on.
ideal social state, there doesn't need to be a competing party because everyone already prefers the active
Oh, yeah,
party.
Hassan's a fucking tanky. But, like, that's not what I'm
Yes.
saying, right? I think
Okay.
diversity of opinion is really important to developing society, and it's really important to, like, letting the people actually feel like they have, like, the ability to partake and to build
Sure.
the country that they live in, you know? I think that's one of the things that makes me, like, really sad, is that there's, like, a lot of people who are, like, fucking too poor to enjoy the shit available to them. And so you could do... I think you could really fucking... You could get there, you know?
Okay.
It's just a
And you think
process.
that the party you support would be more likely favored because it's supporting what the people want more, and the minority party would probably may not have as much power. It would just be in the background. You
I
think that
mean,
would
I would...
happen?
I don't know. I would hope so. But, you know, if people decide they want something different and that my party isn't doing well enough, then so
Sure.
be it, right?
And you would accept if that fell out of power because that's democracy.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
you got to do it.
Hey,
Part of the
Naxalis.
What's up, Dev?
Naxalis, is it too late in this conversation to bring up the iron law of oligarchy?
Oh, you want that's better for you
no.
than for me.
That
If you want to go
boy.
down that rabbit hole, that's you. I don't know Iron Law of Oligarchy that well, so that's your thing.
I do want to reiterate Max is looking for an out here. It's 3 a.m. right
Yeah,
now.
I
Oh,
don't want to
yeah.
keep him. If he needs to go, I'll butt out. I just want to give my
Sorry.
question to go.
Yeah, you know what? All my trolling aside, I mean, if you want to go, Max, that's fine, I guess. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, let's...
I abide.
Okay, Max, give us you have a lot of eyeballs on you. Where can people find you? Can you give us a
Ah.
shout out? Tell people where they can find you. Last thoughts, final thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, so my YouTube is at Karl Max Live. That's where you'll find me there. On Twitter, my name is Karl Max. I'm at Ceremonious Hurt. You can follow me there. I like making funny shit posts, and it's pretty good. Yeah, did you ask anything else of me apart from plugging stuff? No, was that it?
Final
Well,
thoughts.
so,
Oh, final thoughts.
some of
I
us
mean,
can't follow
socialism
you there,
good.
apparently.
Look, Devo, I will unblock you, okay? But don't be a cunt. Okay, you can be a little bit of a cunt. I don't mind that. I don't mind people being a little cunty, but just don't be a fucking massive. Okay.
Don't worry,
Please.
Dev makes a new Twitter account every 3 months.
Pretty much,
Oh,
yeah.
great. I can't wait. But no, I mean, socialism base, capitalism cringe, etc., etc., etc. Mostly though, I think most people are more in line with each other's views than we recognize most of the time. You probably shouldn't be as much of a cunt if you can try and help it. Not calling you out specifically necessarily, I mean generally. But yeah, I enjoy this conversation, and I appreciate you for having it with me.
Beautiful.
I have one question before you go. The final question.
I'm
then.
gonna kill myself. Can I say that?
I actually don't know if you can see that on Twitch, but
Wait, no, in
Oh.
Minecraft, in Minecraft.
I have one final question. So, did you farm the appropriate amount of clout off of me then for this conversation?
I don't know. Wait, tell you what. Do you wanna? I'll unblock you. Maybe I'll follow you. Okay,
Well-
then we can, and then you follow me back, and
Yeah.
then we can say we're settled in terms of
Uh,
clout. Okay,
well, no.
I
What I
deserve
mean is
reparations. You know.
what I mean is someone asked you why you were having this conversation, and you said solely for
Oh.
clout or something. I was like,
Oh, I
yeah.
said, somebody asked me why I'm doing it and why I put myself through this, and I said
Yeah.
clout with a killer bean gif. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's
Have you-
kind of fair, right?
Have you been
I enjoy this
appropriately clouded up?
conversation.
Have you been
I
appropriately
hope
clouded
I
up?
need to check my numbers. I need to check my metrics. If not, I'm blocking you again.
damn. Okay.
Listen,
Thank you for
listen,
being here. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you trusting me to moderate. I hope I told you.
You
going
did
in, I
great.
had
Thank
bias,
you.
but,
You're less
yeah.
biased today.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
I-
oh.
less
Listen,
biased
as-
today. Fair enough.
Listen,
Fair enough.
I am of
With
course
respect.
willing to talk. I am of course willing to talk to you again sometime if you want. We'll figure it out.
I'd like that.
Cool.
I'd
Okay.
like that. Yeah, we should chat.
For now.
Okay, take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, no problem.
Dev mutual. Oh yeah, I gotta do that. My god, the things I do for the numbers. Yeah. Okay, I've unblocked him now. Okay, I followed him. Wow. Look at this. Look at this evil fucker. All right, we're mutuals now, folks. It's happened. What a strange turnaround. I got owned. I got owned so hard. Wait, which thing is wild? Everything. The debate? Yeah, the debate is fucking, it was pretty wild. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't like that, you know? That was actually quite interesting though, I think, right? I think, I like the little educational aspect of it, you know? I mean, he's older than me. He's probably, I think he's been through university and stuff. He's gonna have some more general knowledge on things. My prediction is that you're a kid with no life experience whose world view boils down to, why won't people just give me stuff? Okay. Do you know if Dev's gonna stream it too? I don't know why he would, you know. I'm a very small content creator, especially relative to him. I'm very insignificant. Most of his channel doesn't know who I am. They don't care. I'd be surprised if we made a thing out of it, you know?